By the
She
way,
said, what would be your main reason to go? And I said, legitimately.
Good morning.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Oh, that was so aggressively loud.
okay, he was impressive.
You know, morons. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday. It is February 27th, and it is time for the beginning of the 4-hour sports talk extravaganza that is known as the Rob Brown Show. Welcome in, my friends, to the show that eventually ends at 10 a.m., as a matter of fact, is when it ends. But between here and there, just excellence.
I don't know. Are you okay? The voice sounds like it's going. I mean, what'd you do?
I spent 3 hours on a mic with R-Truth. And I got to tell you, yesterday felt fine. Yesterday felt real good, but I think the adrenaline was still going. Today, woke up this a.m., got ready, went to, as I do, right, last thing I do before I leave, I go kiss the fiance goodbye. She said, I love you. And I went, I love you. love you. Love you too. And then I thought, might be a long day today. Might be a long day. I'm not going to lie. For those of you that routinely text the radio broadcast and go, hey, jerkwad, why are you yelling so much? Today's your day. This right here is about as subdued as it gets for me, and this is what you're getting, all right? Still going to have the gas, still going to have the juice, still going to have the energy. I'm feeling real good this morning. It's Tuesday. We're already almost to Friday, which makes it almost Saturday and the weekend.
Inconceivable.
So I'm gassed, I'm juiced, I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm like RJ Davis from behind the arc right now, just in fuego. Dude hit 4 in a row en route to 42 in a win for the Tar Heels over Miami last night. Not another North Carolina player had more than 8. He put up 42 and they won. Pretty good night for RJ. Like, I like this kid a lot. I like this. I am suddenly finding myself thinking the North Carolina-based basketball team might legitimately be a Final Four contender this year.
You know, not trying to be a negative Nancy,
But I
because
don't want to talk those best.
I would no.
Defense.
No. Don't you
Oh,
put
you're
words
not
in.
gonna go.
You're like my wife. Thinking you're completing.
Put
No.
words in your mouth.
Thinking
You
you're
mean in this case?
You're completing my sentence. I was going to say, man, share the ball a little bit.
He did. Nobody else could make a damn shot. So he said, fine, I'll do it myself.
For every guy that scores that many points, there are other people on his team that aren't scoring. It's a team game, Rob.
Correct. But some people, and this is true, I've been around basketball a very long time. You may not know this, as I don't very frequently put my own credentials out there, but I do have, and this is true, a master's degree in knowing ball.
Hey, Big Daddy, how you doing?
And just in case you weren't aware, there are some basketball players that are actually better at scoring than other basketball players.
No way.
I know. It's a shocking revelation, and frankly,
So it's a
revelation.
Revelation.
It would have worked either way.
No, relevation is not a word. I
No,
don't
shut up.
believe. But
I'm working on
I mean,
it.
you corrected it to the same word.
I got gas. I didn't say I was awake. I just said I'm energetic.
Okay, saying you have gas. Thank
It
you
is
thank you for the warning. Thank you for the warning. And
It is a revelation to many.
you still did it. You did it again.
Revelation?
It's a revelation. It's you should just lean on that button for about 10 minutes.
I really might need to. It is a revelation. Thank you. To many, that some basketball players are better than other basketball players, and RJ Davis is better than your favorite basketball player at the college level. I did get a very funny text last night from my soon-to-be sister-in-law and she sent me a picture of her TV. She's starting to get into sports, right? Like she kind of dabbles on the outside, and she listens to the show. And she's starting to watch sports. And I guess last night they were replaying the NBA's All-Star game. I guess because TNT just doesn't want anybody to watch their channel. So they replayed the All-Star game. And she sends me a picture of her TV. And she goes, how is 15 an All-Star? He runs like his feet are made of cinder blocks. And I was like, 15, that's Jokic. And I zoomed in, and she's talking about Nikola Jokic. And I'm like, I know you're earning your GED in the knowing of ball, and I'm glad that you came to Coach Rob for this. I'm glad you did, because I'm here to help. Like I want more people on my fiance side of the family. There's only one guy, only my brother-in-law, soon-to-be brother-in-law on that side is a sports guy. Nobody else in that family is really a sports person. So I'm glad that she's getting involved, because it's more people to talk to when we do family get-togethers.
Have her watch Trevor Lawrence run. It's the same sort of thing.
As Nikola Jokic? No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
No. Let me finish. It looks like he's not moving fast because of his body movement, but he is really fast.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Some objects move quicker than they look like they're moving. By the way, relevation is a word.
I knew it.
It means a raising or lifting up.
I knew it.
I don't know if it necessarily it fits.
Of your awareness and knowledge. Bang! Rob Brown was 3 for 3, no matter what word he used. Nailed it. Just bringing the heat this AM. All right? It's all gas, no brakes today.
Way to go, you.
That's what I do. Let's go. So she said 15 looks like his feet are made of cinder blocks. How is this guy an all-star? I was realizing she's talking about Jokic. And I'm like, I know you're working on it. I'm glad you came to Coach Rob. That guy averages a triple-double. That guy is the most elite NBA player right now. And she's like, well, now I have to watch his games. Hooked. Got her. Let's go. We're just out here. Nikola Jokic is making the world a better place.
Did you let her know when he's done with work, he just wants to go home? Did you tell her that?
He does. We talked a lot about that on Bet for the Cycle last Saturday. We were talking about the Anthony Rendon situation. For those of you that don't remember, Anthony Rendon is a Major League Baseball player for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And he's paid a lot of money by the LA Angels to play baseball. And he really hasn't the last few years. He's been injured. He's only played like 100 games between the last 2 seasons. And between the last 3 seasons, it goes up to like 140 or something like that. And the media jumped him outside of him outside of spring training the other day. And they were like, hey, do you want to be here right now? And Rendon was like, baseball's not a priority to me, right? Like my family is my number one priority. My faith is my other number one priority. And baseball's a job. I look at it as a job. Well, Deck and I had this conversation about it because Deck popped off. He's like, hey, man, you get paid like $15 million a year to go play baseball. Go play baseball. Like it should be your priority. And my response was, man, I don't feel that way about athletes. I understand that for many, if not most of them, it's a job for sure. I don't know about you. I've held lots of jobs that I didn't wake up going, yay, I get to go adjust insurance claims today. What a beautiful day for me. There were days that I woke up when I was a bank floor manager and I knew good and gosh darn well that I was going to have to deal with some uppity millionaire who was mad because he expected 7 more cents on his interest payout this month, even though he's got $1 billion in the bank. And not only do I have to deal with him, but my bank manager would go, you got to squarely kiss him on the cheeks while you do it. And I'm not talking about the rosy red ones.
All right. Different level, same sort of thing. Sorry, lady, I did not squish your bread.
Yes. Exactly. The overwhelming majority of Americans do not have a job that we wake up and go, huzzah! What a glorious day. What a day for a daydream. What a day. We have jobs that, now, not me and Lonzo, we have jobs that we are willing to wake up at 3:30 in the morning for.
You'll never hit that huzzah that way ever again.
Huzzah!
The hand motions, which you could have seen and still can on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or the X if you're interested. Yes. And you should be.
So, I'm not mad at him. Because just because he has a job that most of us are envious of. Would I like to play baseball and get paid millions and millions of dollars to do it? Yeah, I would. I would like that a lot. Turns out I sucked. But if I could, I would. But it's still a job to him. It's still something that is just a thing he does for money. You know, like the overwhelming majority of people who listen to the show. Most people do not stumble into, I did, most people, Lonzo did, most people don't stumble into a gig where they wake up every day and think to myself, my word, am I a lucky son of a that I get to call this a career.
Yeah, not every show I've been on did I think that.
Hell yeah.
But this one for sure.
Hell yeah. I have had to sit in on shows before that even in this line of work, a line of work where my job is, Rob, sit in that chair and talk about baseball, football, soccer, tennis, wrestling.
My loins have been tingling.
I love it. And then there have been shows that I'm on that I'm like, dude, I think I'm going to go back to the bank. I did a show one time. I've told this story before. I did a show one time. I was producer / co-host, right? That the host of the show in the college football offseason, from 99 days out till the day before kickoff, every show on day 99, it was who's the best number 99 to ever play college football. And on the next day, it was who's the number 98. And on Fridays and Mondays, it was the worst. Because on Friday, it would be like, who's the best number that is the date out on Friday and Saturday? And on Mondays, it was Sunday and Monday. And that was legitimately his entire show. The only debate you would have on that show was when you had two people that wore number 77. And I got to tell you, ain't no party like a party where you got callers debating which Ole Miss left guard from 1983 or Tennessee right tackle from 1991 was actually the better number 77 of all time. There were many days that I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go work in a bank.
All right, I've now figured out why you haven't been on the Pulse in like over a year and like a half.
No, picking my favorite comic book sidekicks, that is a deuce. All right, that's a great call. I'm all in. You're telling me you want to rank offensive linemen from the 1980s and 90s? No, I'm out. I'm out, dude. I'm out. So we're not all that fortunate. You are fortunate to take this full circle back around. You are fortunate to watch Nikola Jokic. You just are. The dude's just the dude. And no, I don't think he loves basketball the way I love basketball. But you know what he can do? Score a triple-double by waking up in the mornings, you know? Lonzo wakes up in the mornings. This show's already good. Before we even crack open a mic, this show's good because Lonzo woke up, all right? Nikola Jokic wakes up, there's a triple-double on the books already. Now we just got to figure out what those numbers are. What did he do the other night? Like 26, 16, and 15? Stupid numbers. He's a center. He's a 5.
Yeah, but he won't win MVP this year because of Jokic fatigue.
He didn't win it last year because of Jokic fatigue, and the only guy in the game right now that could have taken it from him is Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is not going to play the required 65 games to win that award because of the injury that he has right now. If you want a surefire bet, you are going to be eating what we in the business call juice right now, which is where the casino give you not as good odds in order to make their money because of how off the betting circuit is. But right now, Nikola Jokic, depending on the book you look at, is minus ish 160 to win the NBA MVP. That you know how big of a favorite that is. Anybody else? SGA, Luka Doncic right now is a guy that also should be in the mix. He is 7-1. Nikola Jokic is minus 160. And by the way, that's a minus 160 with a full understanding that if that dude pops an ankle or something in the next couple of days and misses the games, you lose that money. And you got to give that much juice back. Pretty ridiculous. Pretty ridiculous. All right, we got a lot of stuff we're going to get to on the radio broadcast today, including more conversation about court storming, because as ready as I am to move on, America's not.
Football season is over. Sports media needs something to latch onto, although we know my feelings on this. They need to stop it, but now everyone's talking about it.
It's just kind of what we do, right? It's just kind of what we do. We just kind of, listen, for the record, let's be real clear here. There ain't no off seasons on the Rob Brown Show. You know what we didn't even bring up yesterday? We didn't even bring up yesterday the photo finish in the NASCAR race. 3 wide for Daniel Suarez, edging out Kyle Busch for the dub in what was the most electrifying finish, I think, maybe in the history of the sport. 3 wide out of the last turn, 3 wide across the line. Daniel Suarez won the race, Lonzo, by 0.007 seconds.
I think you should compose a written apology and present it to the listening audience that you failed to mention that yesterday.
I do.
How dare you?
I do. I screwed the pooch. Daniel Suarez won the race by less time than it takes to clap. He won by less time than that. You understand how ridiculous that is? 3 wide, by the way. There were 2 other drivers within of that win. That's nuts. That's incredible. I didn't even get to it. That's on me. I got to get to that today because Atlanta Motor Speedway put on a show. I talked about it last week. Atlanta used to be genuinely the most boring track in NASCAR. Oh, entirely, top to bottom. This past weekend, it put on one of the most electrifying races I have ever seen. I watched it yesterday on the replay. Golly, was it good. So we're going to talk about NASCAR coming up here in just a minute. When we come back from this break that we're about to go to here in mere moments right now. See, that's professional. That's how I cue Lonzo that we're about to go to break, but without saying that I did that. Taking you all behind the scenes. That's what a great host does. When we come back here in just a minute, a major temporary injunction has been filed that is going to change the way that NIL is used in roster construction in college football. And I'm going to make a prediction. Lonzo is going to roll his eyes so hard that they go like all the way around like one of those cartoon slot machines. You'll find out what that is when we come back. #tease. I'm Rob Brown. He's the great Lonzo. It's wonderful to have you here on a Tuesday morning. Let's rock and roll, y'all. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate.
Smith.
All right, good morning, everybody. I got a live read right here. We'll come right back. Don't go.
This thing I sent you about Spencer Rattler.
I did.
Okay.
I did. We're going to talk about that later, too. All right, everybody on the stream. How's it going? Good to be with you guys. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show on your radio. Rob and the great one, Lonzo, with you.
I have to ask you a question because I need to know if this is a sign of old. If you accidentally take a screenshot of your screen just by reaching over to grab your phone to turn it off, but instead you take a screenshot, is that a sign of being old?
Was it like because you pushed the wrong button or just because you got giant hands and the screenshot buttons are close to each other?
Well, to grab the phone in order to push it so it won't move.
Are your screenshots on opposite side?
So you have to push that button on either
both
side.
sides? Yeah, no, that checks out.
So the phone wouldn't move. I had to have my hand on the other side and it slipped down and took a picture of the screen. Okay.
That checks out. Mine, the Google Pixel just changed to where my screenshot buttons are on the same side. So, like, you kind of have to intentionally do it. And I got to tell you, it's my favorite change they've made to these phones.
That's actually better.
Yeah.
Not enough for me to change phones.
Like most things on Android, yes, it is better than iPhone. That is correct. I stand, as the kids say, on business. # Team Android. Let's get to this story because this one kind of feels like a real big story in the land of college ball. A federal judge in Tennessee granted a preliminary injunction that prohibits the NCAA from punishing any athletes or boosters for negotiating name, image, and likeness deals during their recruiting process or while they are in the transfer portal. The injunction is not a final ruling on the case, but the judge's decision will likely have an immediate and dramatic impact on how NIL deals are used in the recruiting process. Now, this injunction was handed down last Friday. It was after we went off the air, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it on Friday. We didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday because I have a dear friend of mine who is a lawyer. I'm not sure exactly what his title is. He's a business lawyer. I don't know what's that called. What's a labor lawyer? No, not a labor lawyer. Maybe a labor lawyer.
It might be a labor lawyer.
Anyway, he's a lawyer who does business stuff. He does lawyer things for business peoples. Okay. And I kind of wanted to get his opinion because I am a big dumb idiot. And a lot of these are very big words to me.
A business lawyer is another word is a corporate attorney.
Sure, let's go with that. I like that. We'll roll with that. He is a corporate attorney, and I kind of wanted his take on it. So what does this mean that it is a temporary injunction? And he said basically what it means is that there was some compelling reason to issue a ruling that comes along with the caveat that we are making this ruling because we feel like something has to be done now, with the understanding that there is a longer litigation process to come that will ultimately result in a final ruling. So the temporary injunction basically says, hey, look, for now, until we reach our ultimate conclusion on how this situation should be handled, for now, you can't do this thing or you have to do this thing. He said, ordinarily, a temporary injunction usually points in the direction of what is going to be the final ruling. Doesn't always mirror it, doesn't always give you a guarantee of what the final ruling is going to look like, but it basically points you in the direction that the final ruling is going to end up. It may not be identical. There'll be some tinkering and some changes. And oftentimes, The temporary injunction will put on display some of the potential issues for what the final ruling might bring about, some of the consequences. Because if we say, all right, here's our temporary injunction, and this is what you are or are not allowed to or obligated to do based on this temporary injunction, it might bring up some realities that you didn't necessarily plan for. And in not having planned for those, now when you go through the process to get to the final ruling, you can address those in the final ruling. You can go, okay, we did this temporary injunction, and while we expected A, B, and C, D also happened. We weren't expecting that, and in order to make sure that that does not happen, or maybe does happen down the line, the new ruling is going to address that as well. So here is what this ruling says. As it stands right now, NCAA rules prohibit student athletes from signing NIL contracts that are designed as inducements to get them to attend a particular school. One of the few restrictions in place for how athletes can make that money. For example, the NCAA recently announced, obviously, in case you were not listening to the Rob Brown Show, catch up, people. What are you doing? Sanctions against FSU football because a member of its coaching staff connected a prospect with a booster collective that works closely with the Noles. The collective made a specific offer to the player who was considering transferring from his current school to Florida State. We found out later, that was an offensive lineman from Georgia who went into the portal, got the offer from FSU, immediately went right back to Georgia so fast that some folks down in Tallahassee put on the tinfoil hat and said, hey, this feels like, as the Beastie Boys once said, sabotage. Banger, by the way. Still a banger. Anyway, attorneys out of Tennessee and Virginia, the attorneys general out of Tennessee and Virginia, as a matter of fact, argued that the NCAA is, and I am quoting ESPN on this, illegally restricting opportunities for student athletes by preventing them from negotiating the terms of NIL deals prior to deciding where they want to go to school. The lawsuit was filed January 31st, one day after the University of Tennessee Chancellor Donde Plowman revealed in a letter to the NCAA that the school's athletics department was being investigated for potential recruiting rules violations. So the judge in this case, which is U.S. District Court Judge Clifton Colker. You kind of have to say that name that one, right?
The Honorable Clifton Colker.
It's either
residing
Your Honor Clifton Colker or the U.S. General Attorney Guy Super Dude Clifton Colker.
Come on, he's from a well-to-do family. You don't
100%. His name's Clifton.
Yeah, you don't name your son that for sure.
Clifton. Anyway, Clifton Corker, in his ruling, determined that the attorneys general have a reasonable chance of winning their case and that student athletes could suffer, quote, irreparable harm, end quote, if the restrictions remain in place while the case is being decided. The NCAA said in a statement, quote, turning upside down rules overwhelmingly supported by member schools will aggravate an already chaotic collegiate environment, further diminishing the protections for student athletes from exploitation. The NCAA fully supports student athletes making money from their name, image, and likeness and is making changes to deliver more benefits to student athletes, but an endless patchwork of state laws and court opinions make clear partnering with Congress is necessary to provide stability for the future of all college athletes, end quote. So basically what this injunction said is, for now, though it is not permanent, though, as I mentioned a minute ago, it likely points towards it, not definitely, but likely points towards it becoming permanent in the future. For now, college athletes are able to negotiate NIL terms before they sign a scholarship to go to a school. So now, if I am a 4-star quarterback out of Clinton, South Carolina.
Don't do it, man. You're bowing to pressure. Do not do that.
I just like to say it to get people's reaction.
There's a T in there.
Oh, I know. If I'm a 4-star quarterback.
They can't say it because they're missing their front teeth. It makes it really hard It makes it really hard to pronounce your
haters.
T.
The haters.
I've been there. You haven't.
I haven't. I have not been to Clinton. All right. So if I'm a 4-star quarterback and I got offers from Clemson, South Carolina, Alabama, and Georgia right now, they all want me. Only one of them can have me. Like the ladies. All right. That's a dumb joke. I take it back. If they all want me and only one of them can have me, one of the incentives for where I might elect to go to school, and for a lot of kids, I would say probably a primary incentive, and I would also argue that's true of, everybody, would be, where am I going to make the most money? Where's the bag, baby? Where's the cheddar? Where's the cheese? In years gone by, really up till last Friday, letter of the law was that you had to sign your scholarship, and then Monty Hall would open the door and show them what they've won. Johnny, here is what your NIL valuation at this school is. Now, with this temporary injunction in place, now as a player, I have a new opportunity. I can put out NIL feelers before I go to the school. I can find out roughly what I'm going to make. I can go straight up enter into negotiations. Hey, yo, if I was to come to Athens instead of Tuscaloosa, Columbia instead of Clemson, Tallahassee instead of Gainesville, if I was to come here, this is the dollar amount that I would like to pay to make that happen. I would like this much money, and I can negotiate that deal. And the NCAA can't say no to that anymore. They can't punish me for it. So that also means the inverse. If I'm Kirby Smart or Mike Norvell or whoever, Dabo Swinney or Shane Beamer, and I got a kid I really want, 4-star defensive tackle, I need to buff up the D-line a little bit, and that's the guy I believe is the future. Now I can have my NIL collective go to him and go, hey, dude, we can put $75K a year, $100K a year on the table for you if you come to Columbia, and they are now allowed to have that negotiation. But so, of course, is everybody else.
Okay. In your statement, you made it sound as if Dabo would have control over the NIL collective and direct them as if he was the boss of, which would make the NIL collective a sect, a subdivision,
there's one thing we like on this show,
of
it's
Clemson.
sex.
Yes, we love the sex of Clemson. Yes,
I like when Lonzo plays along. It's very fun to me.
yes. Also, if I were a student athlete and I was negotiating, but I'm not good at it, would I be able to have a representative of some sort?
An agent?
That's it. That's the word. Would I be able to have an agent to take care of that?
Yeah. You can have agents.
Man, this sounds like the NFL. It
Sure
just,
it does.
and all professional sports.
Sure it does. And?
Oh no, I was just saying that's what it sounded
Sure it
like.
does.
There's just probably some people that don't like the fact that it sounds that
There
way
are a lot of people who don't like it.
because that's what it is. I mean,
There are a lot of people who don't like it. And yet, it is what it is.
I remember back in 2002
Way
when
back in my day, 2019.
yeah, when the turning of the century when college football was still college football. This ain't college football today. This is the NFL light.
You've literally said that before.
Yeah, I know.
But you said it in your regular voice.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just my regular voice is old too, but it's just not as funny.
So basically what this means is that at this point, college athletes can negotiate NIL deals as part of the recruiting process. I kicked this around a lot last night. And I came to the conclusion that, okay, it checks out. And it checks out for one reason. Because me too. And you too. And Lonzo too. You two, not like the band, like us, like all of us. You, me, and you.
And me too, not like the movement.
The
and then
Edge.
yeah. Oh yeah.
The plane, there's a U2 spy plane. U2.
I don't know. Is that still in use? We would think
think
we
so.
would have upgraded since then.
No need. No
If
need.
it's that
works,
good.
It works perfectly well.
Okay. All right.
Like natural selection, man. You only upgrade if it's not working anymore. So, much like Zoe or me or anybody else, we have the right before we accept a job to negotiate with all the potential jobs to find out which one's going to compensate me in the way that I want the best. If I was tomorrow, I'm not, but if I tomorrow decided that I was ready to move on from this market, again, I'm not, but if I was, I can make calls and I could get in touch with however many radio stations were interested in bringing me on board as their new host. And once I have a list of the 2 or 3 or 5 or 100 that were interested in me, then I have the opportunity to negotiate with all of them. And not only negotiate with all of them, but have them compete with each other for my services, right? If I was in demand. I could say, hey, radio station in city A, this is what I get paid now. I'd like this much. And they could go, okay, we'll offer you this. And I go, that's wonderful. And then I call radio station B and I said, hey, radio station A is offering me this much. Can you beat that? And they'll go, well, we'll pay you the same, but we're going to give you this added benefit. Or I can go then to radio station C and go, hey, A's offering me this, B topped by this. And at some point, some radio station is going to go, hey, dude, we ain't paying you that. And now I know what my valuation is. Now I know what my cap is. And now I can go back to station A and go, hey, here's the final offer I got from station D. But I really like your city, and I would love to live in your city and be a fan of your team. Can you match it? And A's either going to go yes or no. And I can continue that circle until I get myself the best possible contract, and then I'm gone. All of us have the right to do that. And if you're playing the game the right way, you probably have. And now we're just saying college football players can do it too. They can now figure out where they're going to get the best compensation for their services as a player, utilizing their name, their image, and their likeness as their product. Still got to go play. I promise you, nobody's going to sign a second-year NIL deal for a guy who signs a $500,000 NIL deal as a freshman and then sucks. You still got to play. You still got to perform. Now, that brings me to something else that I would like to address. And that is the comments that were made last week by one Nicholas Lou Saban, a man that I have the utmost respect for, a man that I have a ton of admiration towards. He made some comments last week when he was pointing out to America that he would love to be a voice for change in the land of college football. And I read them and I read them again and I read them again and I read them again. And then, and this may shock you, I had some thoughts. And I would like to share those with you in mere moments from now. My name is Rob Brown. Over on the other side of the metaphorical glass, the guy that is in charge of this program and every program that you love, he is the great one, Lonzo, and you, my dear friends, my family, my lovable listeners, are listening to the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. 42 minutes, not a chat comment from any of you. Which one of you, like, what are we doing here, Peter?
Yeah, I was worrying maybe there's a problem.
I feel like I'm just being stared at now. There is. We have 0 Facebook viewers. That's not right.
There was earlier, though, but I think they might have been checking to see if it was working.
All right, guys, I'm going to do a tech check real quick. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. Stay right there. I'll be right back. Seems to be working on Facebook. I just pulled it up and it's streaming.
Okay, could just be Tuesday.
There we go. Jesse, welcome in, big dog. I just wanted to make sure you guys are all good, man. You know, I felt like a zoo animal for just a second there. There we go. I like the big ones. James, what's up, buddy? Good morning. Welcome in, my guy. Good to have you. I just wanted to make sure it worked. That's all.
Maybe we weren't interesting enough to elicit comment.
There's a good chance. That's what I wanted. I wanted a little existential doubt to start my day. Like a good cup of coffee.
Stupid. There may or may not be a divot in the floor. I may or may not have caused a divot over time. It's called erosion. Or the chair's messed up even with the new wheels on it. It always sticks in the same spot, though. Could switch chairs. There we go. See, that's smooth, but somehow it will work its way back to the other thing when I need to move the most. Eventually, I'm going to face plant. That's the problem. I'm going to think I'm moving forward, and I will move, but the chair won't. Which will be funny for everyone else out there, but it will hurt. How'd you break your nose? 'Cause I'm stupid.
I fell down.
My chair said, I'm not moving. You're too fat. And, then I face planted.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. Hour number 1 underway right now. We were talking about the temporary injunction granted by a federal judge in Tennessee last week that created a situation where players can now, free of threat from the NCAA, negotiate NIL contracts as part of their recruiting process. And that is both true for kids coming out of high school and going to college, as well as kids who enter the transfer portal. So, with that being said, I was reading through because it came into my stream of consciousness last night, the comments of one Nick Saban. And Nick's going to stay relevant, not just because he is the GOAT and should be deemed such, but because there are many of us, and I include us because I'm in that group, that believe the reason Nick Saban called it a career is because of NIL and the transfer portal. The job got harder. And there are some guys, and hell, Nick Saban's over 70 years old. I got to tell you, if and when I get to 70, I hope I have less work, not more. Nick said this long rambling spiel about how I'm for the players, I'm for this, I'm for that. But he said, quote, I think the consequence of this could come down the road when some of these guys get 28 and 29 years old that maybe they didn't prepare themselves for when they can't play football anymore, which is what you should do when you go to college. All right. I'm totally fine with that. Okay? All on board. Totally fine with that. Here's my question. How many times has Nick Saban lobbied to maybe, I don't know, create more rigorous academic standards for players? Anybody ever heard Nick Saban lobby that maybe biology class should be a little bit more difficult? Or that maybe players should be obligated to meet certain academic benchmarks towards a graduation? Or that maybe players should have to graduate in 4 years if they want to play their 5th year? I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. It is funny to me that there are all of these coaches that all have all of these thoughts that all revolve around making sure that college is good for the kids. We want to make sure that they have a foundation of learning and leadership. We want to make sure that there is a rigorous academic progression so that, these kids might think that they want $500,000 to play football, but what they actually want is a good degree for their future. Dudes, dudettes, amigos, amigas. Let me make abundantly clear. Until the day that I start seeing college coaches come out and demand that the academic rigor is increased, that these kids are held to more high academic standards than they currently are, the day that I stop seeing schools like North Carolina involved in academic scandals in which the coaches and the administration were actively making it easier for these kids to get through school so that they could keep their football eligibility intact, then I don't want to hear any comments like this. I don't care. Don't sit here and preach to me that you're worried about the life foundation of these players when you are seeing school after school, year after year, put out in the public eye for making it easier. When you are constantly seeing schools allowing kids to have people go to class for them, when you are constantly easing up on the academic requirements and workload in order to get them eligible for football, please don't come to me and tell me that your pushback against NIL is actually because you're worried about them when they're 28 and 29. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. If you really believe that, you would be working towards making it tougher to get into and through college, because that is where the foundation for life comes from, not football. Football is part of it. There's lessons in football. But by the time you reach college, you're not learning those deep-seated life lessons that are, you have them already. You have them. You've been taught those. Those are little league and middle school and high school lessons, not college football lessons. Until I hear Nick come out and start preaching about how schools need to make it more schooly for the kids, don't hit me. Well, I'm worried about when they're 29. Are you? And I'm using Nick because he's the most visible guy here. But until you start pushing for more academic rigor, until you start pushing for guys who aren't meeting academic benchmarks to lose their eligibility, and you are actively pursuing that, which no college football coach in the history of college football coaching has outside of maybe like the service academies, then I don't believe you. It really just comes across as NIL makes it harder to be a coach, and I don't want it to be harder to be a coach. Marion is on the phone line, wants to talk some of these NIL rulings and its future. Marion, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking some time. Good to have you.
Hey there. Yes, sir. I just had like an idea. Well, not, I mean, like an idea, but I mean, if we are going to open up everything and treat it as, as it is, like the NFL light.
Marion, appreciate the phone call. I kind of get the direction you're going, and I appreciate it. The concept of this being NFL light. I will say that I have moved over to the Zoe side. It's a job now. Okay? It's a job. But I am willing to call it a job because it's big business. We're all on board with that. This is why every time that I say, without having to answer the question, if you want to know why a decision gets made by the NCAA, by a school, by administration, by a coach, if you want to know why a decision got made, Lonzo, what's the reason?
It would be money.
Every time. It is a gigantic business. We just watched a contract. Well, apparently it wasn't actually officially entirely, totally signed, but we just watched a contract for north of $1 billion for a handful of games every year. For a handful of games. Not a whole season. For a handful of games. We are watching these schools. The ones in the SEC and the Big Ten within 5 years are going to be making close to $100 million a year. And so eventually the players said, yo, we're the ones doing this. Like I said, if it wasn't for the Georgia players, you wouldn't know who the hell Kirby Smart is. He'd be selling insurance in Athens. Nick Saban is a multi-millionaire because of football players. Yeah, he knew how to orchestrate them and organize them and coach them and roster build and all that. And he deserves to have money because he created the place for football players to go. But here's the reality. The UFL starts on March 30th. March 30th, game 1. I'm going to go ahead and guess. Prediction time. I'm betting, Lonzo, the UFL doesn't have the same numbers in the viewing audience as the NFL does in week 1. Anybody want to bet that they do? I'm going to probably guess not. And why? Is it because it's football? No. It's because the talent level will not even be close to what the NFL is, and we watch the best. We watch the players play, and we want to watch the best players play. And so we watch college football for the best players. Not Nick Saban, not Kirby Smart, not Mike Norvell, not Dabo Swinney, not Shane Beamer, none of them. We watch for the players. And they said, hey, we'd like a slice of that. And a lot of y'all do have a problem with that. A lot of us don't. I don't have a problem with Cade Klubnik getting a slice when I am watching multi-millionaire head coaches every year complain about how their job's hard.
What do those people do who are still stuck in what college football used to be? Do they continue to just complain for year after year after year, lamenting about what is lost? Or do they realize it's not going back and adapt to what's going on now and move on? Because there are some people who are really struggling with this.
It's like everything else. The only thing that stays the same is that change happens all the time. And it's like every time something changes, there's a group of people who push back, kick back, get mad, and scream and yell and hoot and holler. And then one day that stops. I'm not trying to bag on anybody, but one time Colin Kaepernick took a knee and half of America was never watching the NFL again. And then what happened? Literally the next year, they went back to having record numbers. The next season, they had a tiny dip, and then they went right back to setting records every year.
They also did what I said they would do, and some people said they'd never watch again. They stopped showing the national anthem. The only time they show it is for like the Super Bowl or playoffs or things like that. That way, that took that away from the viewing public.
Sure. Point is, it was still happening. And y'all, and I'm saying y'all, yes, I am saying it in a way of, yeah, I heard half the country. I was on the radio at the time. Half the country told me they were never watching football again. And yet they're still setting record numbers. The reality is people are going to complain. People are going to moan. People are going to be mad. And then football games are going to start and everybody's going to come right back. Right back. Texas says the service academies in Notre Dame, Stanford, Northwestern, Vanderbilt, etc. demand academic success. Not all colleges and universities have bailed on the academic side of attending college. Look, I respect that. No issue with that. And that's their choice. But the point that I'm making here is, yeah, and good on them for it, by the way, because those schools can say truly and genuinely, we want our kids to leave here with an education that preps them for success, whether they find it in football or not. But don't tell me that's the case in Alabama. I know it's not. Don't tell me that's the fact when you got stories like the one out of North Carolina not terribly long ago. I know it's not. You know it's not. They think we're dumb. We ain't. We're big, smart boys. The biggest, smartest boy is the guy who has all the sports news and information you need to know in this hour's Sports Flash.
That's me, little boy trapped in an old fat man's body. North Carolina found themselves in a fight with Miami last night, and it was R.J. Davis that delivered the knockout punch. Davis threw down 4 straight three-pointers to open up a lead in the second half, making up 12 of his 42 points. Davis was the only Tar Heel in double digits in the 75-71 win. I don't know why I'm Clemson defensive tackle DeMonte Capehart has been reinstated with the football team after weapon and traffic charges against him were dropped. Capehart was charged earlier this month with unlawful possession of a firearm and a careless operation of a vehicle, but both were dropped after completion of a pretrial intervention. Tune in tomorrow night at 6:30 as Furman men's basketball team takes on Western Carolina right here on your home for Paladins football and basketball. The Fan, Upstate. I think I said Paladins. I'm not sure. Happy Tuesday, Josh. So that person has made my list,
Yeah.
and I gave them.
Think it's a gag.
Yeah. So unless they're really good and can use a different phone and change their voice, I do recognize the name, the number. So QC in the first break.
Our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Fan Upstate. Happy Tuesday to all of you.
I'm talking to America here.
Wonderful to have you here on the radio broadcast. I am Rob Brown on the other side of the metaphorical glass, the guy in charge of this and every radio broadcast, at least the ones that you enjoy. He is the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate, the Sultan of Swag, the professor of perfection, the wizard of wave himself. The great one, Lonzo. That could not have been better timing. Spectacular.
Yeah, because I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
So there.
We got a lot to get to.
Yeah, move on. Okay.
I was trying to.
Okay. All right. Fine.
I was trying to, man. I was doing my best.
Hey man, it's like the computers are out to get me today. So, bro.
So we got a lot that we need to get to, a lot to continue to get to here on the radio broadcast. If you elect to be a part of it, the text line 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN. We'll read them on the air. You can give us a buzz on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone at 844-326-3663. That is 844-FAN-FONE. If you want to come in that direction, you can also tweet post us at the Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word, or get to everybody up in the hizzle at the Fan Upstate on Twitter. Let's go. It is 7:03 and a half right now, which means you're less than an hour away from clocking in, which means you're like an hour and 17 minutes away from taking your first break of the day, because who doesn't want to go stand on the clock and talk a little sports with your coworkers, right? And if you're going to do that, you're going to need this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
"You hear that?"
First bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Man, I very much miss CSI Ann Arbor. Wasn't that a wonderful time to be a broadcaster?
Wait, you mean they just stopped with the investigation and nothing's going to happen from it?
CSI Ann Arbor. So good. So good. What a lovely time to have been in this industry. I miss it. I mean, they let Michigan win the Natty. What else matters? Oh, we're taking it away from you. Okay. We're all just going to forget that Michigan won the Natty.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to forget that.
Yeah.
Michigan
I was really glad when they gave Reggie Bush back his Heisman, because they Men in Black neuralized me. And I was allowed legally to remember that Reggie Bush won a Heisman. They had wiped it from my memory. The memory was gone. And then it came back one day. I was like, oh, Reggie Bush won a Heisman. That's, my goodness, I remember now that they gave it back to him. They take Michigan's Natty. I believe we all become legally obligated to forget that and pretend that it never actually happened. CSI Ann Arbor. Water cooler cheat sheet, top 3 stories that you need to know from the land of sports. If you're going to go to work and talk sports like a responsible person, on your break, let's get to item number 1. So we have talked a little bit about this, and I know that it is, I guess, technically old news because the temporary injunction was handed down last Friday. So let me ask you this, as a content creator, as we both obviously are. Did this pop up on your radar all that much since last Friday? Because I got to be real with you. It didn't for me. And this kind of feels like a much bigger deal than it's made out to be. And I think it may be because, and I am not saying this like an elitist and a let me explain to you. I mean it for me as well. It's a lot of legalese. And because they are labeling it, because it is a temporary injunction, I think a lot of people have been kind of working on the belief that a temporary injunction is something that down the road, probably this year, could be overturned, could be, and it could be, just for the record, it could very much be overturned. But I spoke yesterday to someone who is in corporate law. And these types of lawsuits, this type of litigation is what he does for a living. And he said, ordinarily, when you get a temporary injunction like this one, it is usually a pretty good, though not definite, but a pretty good indicator of the direction that the wind is blowing. To simplify, ordinarily, it's a pretty good indicator of what the final ruling is going to be. It can be done for a number of reasons. He said the primary reason you would get a temporary injunction in a situation like this is because the court, or the judge in question, believes that by allowing the status quo to stand, irreparable harm will be done to one party or the other. Harm that cannot be rectified down the road with a later ruling. I might lose 5, 10, 100, $1 billion now that can't be recovered. It's lost. And so a temporary injunction would be handed down in order to protect those losses, with the understanding that, hey, if we decide to go to the total opposite direction down the line with a more thorough litigation process, a more thorough legal review of the situation, then no harm, no foul. Those people made some money. Congratulations, but you can't do it anymore. You got to fix the process now. But the reason you have to fix the process has been more thoroughly argued, evaluated, analyzed, understood, and judged because of. So basically, this judge said, hey, there would be irreparable damage done to the players if we allowed the NCAA to be able to bring the hammer down on them for this. Irreparable damage done to teams, whatever parties they want to talk about, if we allow the NCAA to bring down the hammer. But if later on we overturn this, if we decide to go the other direction with this, and we decide we're going to flip this ruling over, it's really no harm, no foul to the NCAA, because they're not losing profit. They're not going to be injured by this. The players and theoretically, maybe the schools would. So I think that's why this ruling, not by everybody, I'm not trying to say we're the only ones talking about it. We're certainly not. I'm sure it's been covered by a lot of shows and a lot of folks. But I think that is why this, by and large, kind of slipped under the radar since last Friday.
I gotta be honest. I believe this is an inevitability. Wow.
You got there. I'm proud of you.
I believe it's going to happen. It was going to happen eventually anyway. There we go.
Foghorn Leghorn, that entire point.
It was more like Porky Pig.
Porky Pig.
Yeah,
the whole point. That's a good call.
This is why I stay away from multi-syllable words. I mean, it sounds fine in my head, and I know I was using the word correctly. No, I just think it's going to happen eventually anyway. So when it does, I probably will be like, oh, I thought that already happened. I mean, and I think a lot of people think that way, that's where it's heading. There's no stopping it. So is it really that big of news? It is for the players, obviously.
It's huge news for the players. Honestly, I think it's huge news for the NCAA. The NCAA doesn't want this. They want, listen, what little.
It's also huge news for the schools too.
Totally agree. What few teeth the NCAA had in the disciplinary process, they bared in this. The last couple of sanctions we've heard in the NIL world have been this. It's been Florida State. It's been Miami basketball. It's been this. It's been, oh, you can't. We're good. NIL is what it is, but you can't use it as a recruiting tool. So we're going to bring the hammer down on FSU. We're going to bring the hammer down on Miami basketball. And now even that's out the window. So basically, the one spot that the NCAA had been able to say, look, guys, we really are a disciplinary committee. We really do have power in this game. This federal judge just said, yeah, no, you don't, dude. No, you don't. They were already viewed largely as a feckless organization. Now they are fecklesser.
Why didn't I choose that word?
It's a good word.
Feckless is a great word, and it only has 2 syllables.
It's a real good word. So there you go. There's that's where that sits right now. We'll talk more about it later in the show if you all are interested in it. Let's go to item number 2. We're keeping an eye on the NFL draft, the NFL Combine getting underway. Indianapolis, Indiana, the site of this year's scouting combine, where a lot of players from the land of college football are showing up to lift weights and run and catch and throw. Not all of them. Jaden Daniels is out.
Take those tests. Those are really important.
Take those tests. They are very important. Ask CJ Stroud. He obviously was doomed to failure because of those tests. We are starting to get a list of the players that will be at the combine but won't work out, the players that will not go to the combine at all, some of the coaches who aren't going to be going to the combine. We have all of this news that has been breaking over the last couple of days. We know Jaden Daniels is not going to work out. Michael Penix Jr. is not going to work out. Marvin Harrison Jr. is not going to work out. And listen, for the folks that asked me yesterday when these stories started coming out. Rob, why, oh, why would they not work out? The answer is, I want you to think about these players' draft positioning like a product, because it is. I want you to look at it like a product. And if you are able to convince the world that you have a spectacular product, then why would you do anything that could damage it? If the world believes Michael Penix Jr.'s got a cannon on him, why would he show up and have a bad day throwing at the combine and have people start to doubt him? That would be silly. The opposite is true for other guys who maybe believe that they could be a stud. They could be a stud, but the tape just didn't show it. They can show up at the combine and show, I can bench press 350 pounds a billion times. Look how strong I am. I can run the 40 in 4.34. Look how fast I am. And it can improve their draft stock. That's all it is. It's a game. It is a good product and or service that you because you know what happens if, let's say theoretically you had a damn good season. You got a lot of good tape, and then you go to the combine. Do you remember, it's one of my favorite things to ever happen on the internet, when Elon rolled out the Cybertruck with the bulletproof window, and they put it up on the stage, and Elon brought some dude out and said, hey, I want you to throw a brick at the window to prove how bulletproof it is. And the dude threw the brick at the window, and the window shattered. And it was like, oh, all of a sudden, this thing that a bunch of Elon stands were super pumped about, this weird, it looks like a glitch from a video game Cybertruck with the bulletproof windows, Elon cratered the value of that truck with one brick and one window. He would have been better off to never do that demonstration because everybody just believed he had that. That's a quarterback. You go to the championship game, you have a great day. If you show up, you have a bad combine, you're throwing a brick through a window.
I just want to say that truck still was cool looking. It
No,
really
it's not.
it's
No, it's
cool
not. That
looking.
truck's ugly as sin.
Looks like cyberpunk. It's going to happen eventually. All vehicles are going to look like that. The other thing is, I think quarterbacks can hurt themselves by not showing up too. I don't recall a high profile receiver like this in Marvin Harrison Jr. Not showing up and at least running the 40, or at least showing up and, taking tests and things like that. Maybe he learned from CJ Stroud that stay away from the tests.
I think more often than not, you see guys show up and start to run. Here's the thing. Marvin Harrison Jr. is consensus the best player on the board that's not a quarterback.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do
There's
it.
no help.
I just don't recall that happening as far as the combine goes.
I agree. I also think it is exceptionally rare that you have a guy that is considered a standout, not at his position, but on the board, period. If quarterbacks weren't allowed to be drafted, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the number one pick, and that's not a question. That's a statement. It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler. Marvin Harrison Jr. is viewed in a way at that spot that, like, you get a player viewed once every 3, 4, 5 years tops, max. That's how highly viewed he is. Marvin Harrison Jr., and we talked about college football teams and having room for improvement, and my point was the only team right now that does not have room for improvement is who? Michigan, because they're on top with the flag. They're the only team that can't go up because they are at the top. That's Marvin Harrison Jr. There ain't but one way the combine can take him, and that's down. He's already the first guy off the board that's not a quarterback. He can't help himself anymore. There's nowhere to go. His valuation is tip-top. So we're starting to get our combine updates about who is and will not be working out. Michael Penix Jr. not going to throw. Bo Nix will throw. Bo Nix is going to throw.
How much of this are you going to watch? With our new schedule, I get to do what I used to do all the time: go home, have a little lunch, and just sit down and watch as much of it as I want.
For sure. I love the combine. And I will say I love the combine partially because of this job, because to me, for me as a broadcaster, it's not just about guy running the 40. It's that as guys setting a run up the 40, you get all the background information about the cat. And it's not just about who my team might draft as a broadcaster. It's about next year when week 1 kicks off and these rookies are out there and some of them have to make a difference. I will have a good insight into who they are and how they fit onto the team that drafts them. Now, again, that probably respectfully matters more for me as a broadcaster than it does for the average NFL fan. But if you're a diehard who likes to know the inner workings of every team in the league, not just yours, the combine is a wonderfully useful tool.
If you're worried about, okay, how fast was their first 10? How good did they do on the 3-cone? All that kind of stuff. I do agree. I think the NFL Network does a really good job with it.
100%. I think there is a direct translation. Listen, sometimes guys are workout warriors and they can't do it on the field, but they look damn good at the combine in shorts and spandex. On the flip side, there are guys that are going to show up to the combine and look awful, and then they're going to show up on the football field and dominate. To me, it's more about getting to know this crop of rookies that are all going to be draft picks and knowing how they're going to fit in when they get drafted. I can go, okay, at the combine, I learned this, that, and the other. Like I said, I think it's useful if you are a guy who has decisions to make on draft day or a broadcaster who needs to know the workings of these players on the teams they get drafted to. It's entertaining if you're just a fan. In my ever so humble opinion, let us go to item number 3. We have been talking about the temporary injunction. Turns out there's actually another situation coming down the pipe that could have some level of importance in the land of college athletics as a whole. The NCAA Committee on Infractions had a 9-hour meeting last Thursday. That's where this injunction was discussed before it got ruled. But there was something else that got discussed as well that I find very interesting. In notes from the meeting that have been leaking out over the weekend, the NCAA Committee on Infractions has begun exploring legislation adopted that would directly penalize non-coaching staff members at the center of NCAA enforcement action up to and including university presidents. At a meeting on Thursday, the committee discussed the scope of penalties that could be levied on several school athletic and academic officials in infractions cases, including compliance officers, athletic directors, presidents, and chancellors. They agreed to examine the matter on a case-by-case basis, according to the NCAA's managing director for the Office of Committees on Infractions, Matt McCroot. They will determine the penalties based on the person's activity and involvement in violations and their role within the university. The committee also decided, and this is what I find the most interesting out of this decision, great one. They also decided in a change of policy of years gone by that if a university president, chancellor, athletic director, compliance officer, etc., if any of those institutional members are found to be compliant, nope, not the word, complicit, that is the word, in the violations that result in some sort of sanctions against the school, and if they are themselves sanctioned, they will now be named. Used to be that they were unnamed. An unnamed member of the compliance office, an unnamed school official. Now they will be named and, more importantly, shamed. Why is that a big deal? Because it's one thing to bring down a hammer on a guy or a gal, but it's really only known between the NCAA and them. It's another thing when that is now attached to that person's name. When they go apply for a bigger, better job at a bigger, better school, and that school calls back and goes, hey, Mr. Smith, we were looking at your resume. We did a little background search and we found out that you ate a 1, 2, 3 week suspension, a $10, $20, $30, $100,000 fine back at XYZ University last year because of a direct violation of the NCAA's compliance articles. Unfortunately, we can't have that here at ZXY State University. Thank you for your understanding. We wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. I find that very, very interesting that not only are they beginning to consider penalizing non-coaching members for violations, but now straight up identifying them publicly They're putting some weight on this, my dudes. They really are. Let's run to a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. We're going to talk about all this and more. I want y'all's thoughts on everything we're talking about. 71307 is the text line. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. You can also call us on the Renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, 844-326-3663, 844-FAN-FONE. It's the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, quick live reading. We're coming right back. Y'all stay right there. right, dudes and dudettes. Thank you guys so much for hanging through that, man. The Rob Brown Show carries on. It is the Fan Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. Rob and Lonzo with you. Let's run through some of the texts that we've gotten so far. Texter says, and let the dominoes continue to fall. NCAA college football equals semi-pro. What keeps these players under this injunction from getting an agent to do their work? NCAA equals DOA, coffin emoji, just to drive home the point. And I like that. That's an excellent use of an emoji.
Which is what I was saying earlier about the agent thing, but I wouldn't say they're semi-pro. If you make that much money, you ain't semi-pro, you pro.
Professional isn't defined by how much money you make. Clearly, we are professionals.
Well, what makes you semi-pro? I thought semi-pro was, if I recall, only a certain amount of money and couldn't be paid over that.
I mean, that's league by league, sport by sport when we use it in a sports setting. I am fine for the
there's
record.
there's no salary cap at the moment for
For
college football. So
to me, words have context, words have meaning, and that is why we have to be careful to use them the right way. They are not professionals as they do not get paid to play football by definition. Okay. Now you can argue that in this case, the context matters more than the definition of the words. And that's an argument we can have. But by context, they are not professionals as they do not get paid to do a footballing. What they get paid for is to endorse things using their face. Now, the reason their face is known enough to justify an endorsement is because they play football or basketball, volleyball, whatever, gymnastics, whatever the case might be. Every morning I come in here and I watch Olivia Dunn hype a Fabletics, whatever it's called, leisure wear line. Okay. She's making money, not because she is a gymnast, but because she's famous. She's famous because she's a gymnast.
all right, you sound like Senator Brown right now, and you're just using political speech. It means the same thing.
It does not, Lonzo.
Okay.
It does not.
All right, I disagree.
I do not. So when Rob Brown does an endorsement for Bob's Used Cars, I do not get paid for being a car salesman. I don't get paid for working at Bob's Used Cars. I don't get paid because I'm a professional driver, a NASCAR guy, whatever. I get paid to use Rob Brown's brand to elevate that product. I have a brand because I'm a radio guy. There's a difference. Bob doesn't pay me to do radio.
You do get paid, but the company gets paid first and makes more of the money than you do.
I don't disagree, but that's to the discussion we're having. That's a side piece.
How?
Here's
that a
how.
side piece?
Because this is why, and again, words mean something to me, and the definitions of words and being used correctly in a context matters to me. Cade Klubnik is not getting paid by Bob's Used Cars to play football. He is getting paid to hype Bob's Used Cars. He is useful to hype Bob's Used Cars because he plays football. He's not getting paid by Bob's to play football. That's why he's not a professional. If Clemson pays Cade Klubnik to play football, now he's a professional because that's what he's getting paid to do. So the words are important, but that being said, the text itself, I get it. Again, all these players are allowed to be paid to do now is to utilize their brand that they have built. The only difference between them and you or them and me, this is a reality. I get paid to use my brand to hype products and goods and services and companies too. You all know that. You're not dumb people. You're smart people. That's why you listen to this show. I get paid to hype brands and products and goods and services as well using the Rob Brown Show brand that we have built over a 17-year career and 4 years in this market. That is what an endorsement is by definition. Doesn't make me a professional in the industry that they are utilizing. The only difference between Cade Klubnik and Rob Brown when it comes to the endorsements is he's more well-known because he's on a football program that packs 70,000 people into stadiums a handful of times a year. That's the difference. If it ever got to the point that the Rob Brown Show was being syndicated nationally and listened to an audience of millions and millions of the Rob's fans, then I would get endorsements that are on the scale of NIL for the biggest named players. I just think it's important that we keep a fair eye, a fair scope on what this actually is. But the texter's not wrong. He said, what's preventing these players from getting an agent to do their work? Nothing.
By the way, everything you said and you've been consistent, you still haven't convinced me. Now, you could say I'm stubborn or maybe not smart enough to get what you're saying, but to me, they are employees. They are getting paid, because if they weren't doing what they were doing, they wouldn't be making the money they're doing. And eventually, when the school is allowed to, and it's going to happen, when the NIL comes directly from the school, then you cannot hide the fact that they're employees.
I don't accept that, because then they would be employees. They are not employees.
Right. That's what I said.
Right.
I said
When-
even then you cannot use speech to make it look like they're something that they're
What
not
you're-
when they already are.
What you are doing is you are saying, Rob, they are a thing that they are not, and you're using speech to try to. No. The fact is, they are not employees as football players. They are paid endorsers. That is not a professional football player. When they get paid for playing football, if Clemson's ever cutting checks to football players for $5K a week or whatever it might end up being, by the way, $5.5K a week. That is what a salary in the UFL is going to pay. Just so we're all on the same page here. We'll talk about that later. Found that out yesterday. When they get paid by the football program to play football, then they are professionals. Yes, they are getting paid because they are football players, not for being football players. That is not some tricky wordplay. That's the fact.
All right. I'm sorry for all those people out there like me whose hair hurts. So here's the thing. So if Clemson or South Carolina or Ohio State or whoever, if they are now allowed to, if the NIL directives or whatever you want to call them is beneath them, and so they are paying them to pay the players, are they not paying the players? The NIL collectives,
Right.
when the school is actually allowed to pay the collectives to recruit the players, then are you going to say that they're still not paying the players?
But what you're asking me to do is take a future reality.
Yeah, I'm speculating
and pretend it is the
We
reality.
know
now.
what I'm trying to understand your point of view by giving you an example and trying to figure out if that's the same thing in your view.
When they get to the point where a school is directly involved in a payment to a player, which, for the record, I absolutely do believe is going to happen.
So if they pay someone who pays someone, are they not still paying them? If they pay for a collective,
Here's the thing. What you are more likely to see, if it gets to that point, what you are more likely to see is the school just cutting a check to players than it is to go school pays collective plays players. You're more likely to see the schools just pay the players directly, in which case, yes, I will go, okay, now you are bona fide, letter of the definition, employees of the school, and therefore, in my ever so humble opinion, professionals. Absolutely. But that's not what's happening right now. That is not the current reality. And to me, we got enough complications in our actual current reality that we don't need to focus on what the reality might. We can speculate on what the reality might turn out to be. I just did. But there are so many complications in our current reality that I think we're probably better off keeping our attention focused there right now. We know where we are right now. We are now at a point where the NCAA can no longer say, no, you cannot use NIL as a recruiting tool. As of right now, you can't. They don't have to like it. They can say it's against our guidelines, it's against our guardrails, it's against our rules, and that's fine. But they can't do anything about it per this temporary injunction. And until that legislation changes, until that injunction is overturned, which it won't be, but until it is, they're also not going to be able to retroactively punish people for this happening. Meaning that right now, yes, Florida State can absolutely, Clemson can absolutely, South Carolina can absolutely utilize NIL as a recruiting tool. That's what this means. Texas said, didn't get to finish, but if we're paying players literally to go to a certain school, a non-compete should be in place, end quote. Okay, but I would need you to, non-compete for what? Now, here's something I am interested in seeing. What happens if down the line, An NIL collective decides that we will sign you for $1 million a year, 5-star quarterback, but it is a 4-year contract. It's a 4-year deal. You have to be here for 4 years for $1 million a year. You play out 4 years, we give you $4 million. And if you break that to transfer or to go pro or whatever, we will sue you for breach of contract. I'm going to be real with you. I got zero problems with NIL contracts now becoming big-time full real contracts. And again, I've said this a bunch of times. Ordinarily, it's about a different conversation, but I'll say it here as well. With adult benefits come adult consequences, yeah? If you want the adult benefit of being allowed to make NIL money, it comes with the adult consequences of making sure your taxes are taken care of, like adults have to do. Making sure that you are, paying your representatives out of that money, like adults have to do. And signing contracts for that money, like adults have to do. Lonzo and I have jobs here at the station. Lonzo and I both have to enter contractual agreements of some level and type in order to stay employed. And then once we are employed, there are certain obligations we have to meet. We got to file our taxes every year. I believe we are both legally obligated to make sure that our spouses know the money that we're making and where it's going. That's Supreme Court ruling from what I've been led to understand.
I thought our wives were supposed to control the money.
They do. And they should. She's way better at it than me.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that
Same,
publicly.
Same here. I mean,
Way better at it than me.
I do appreciate my allowance, though.
For sure. Texter says non-compete is and you can't transfer 5 times chasing market value, i.e. baseball. No, I'm not going to agree to that. I'm not going to say it shouldn't have the right. Should he be offered more money to go somewhere else? To go somewhere else. Just like I wouldn't say that about anybody in this industry. I am never going to say, hey, if you sign a 2-year contract with a radio station and the next day somebody calls you and offers you $1 million, as long as you are not violating a contractual agreement somewhere and you are meeting your end of the termination of that contract that you agreed to, then chase the bag, baby. Chase the bag. I know Nick being Saban. I know Nick said, I think it's going to be hard for fans to connect if they're having to rebuild the team every year. Dude, okay? Then don't watch college football anymore. For the record, all of this could eventually long-term come to the detriment of college football, but I would also like to point out I've been told now for 2 going on 3 years at this point. 2 going on 3 years that the death of college football is coming. The death of college football is upon our doorstep. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not. The college football playoffs and the national championship game just set viewership records in the NIL era. A couple of years in, plenty of players have transferred chasing the bag, and yet, much like when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, a good percentage of y'all said, that's it. Too much change, I'm out. And yet, either A, the Nielsen ratings lied, or B, a lot of y'all said you weren't going to watch, and you did. And one of those is probably more likely than the other. Maybe.
Oh, that tone at the end there. Oh, that was great.
Look,
oh,
I had to listen during the Kaepernick knee to call after call after call after call of, I don't like how that guy expressed his First Amendment right, therefore I'm out. And yet the numbers didn't go anywhere. So yes, there is a certain level of enjoyment in that.
except for you're talking about NFL and we were talking about college.
I understand. I'm making the same argument.
Okay.
You're going to have a lot of people who are.
So you're going from
up.
one pro sport to another.
Sure. I mean, no, because they're not professionals or employees, but I get what you're saying.
I got you. No,
I
got you.
I know what you're saying. I'm ignoring it because no, you did.
I did.
I like the effort. I like the effort. What I'm saying here is, what I'm driving at here is, you're all still watching. You can tell me you're not. You can say it's the death of college football. It's not college football like I know it, and therefore I'm out, but you're not. The championship game just became the most watched championship game in 8 years? And I got news about next year's. Texas said, Rob, they're pro no matter what gymnastics language you use. They stop playing sports. They stop getting paid. No. Again, words and definitions are important. They are not paid to play college football. They are paid because they play college football. Those are different words, and they are used for the correct reasons. All right, we got a lot of text coming in on this, and we're going to keep rolling with it. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo's on the ones and twos. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate.
Got about a minute and a half. Chris is about to walk into the studio. You better hurry, because this break will be over.
Enter. Thanks for the heads up, via Alonzo.
Welcome. Figured if I texted you, you might not see it.
That's correct.
This is a very short break.
Okay.
Were you just coming to say hi?
Negative. Actually, I had a request of you two, if you wouldn't mind, going to your Gmail and searching from Steve Zanagrabi, yes, and finish that. Yeah, tab or whatever. Yeah, there you go. And see if you received an email from him Friday night, like around 5 or 6 p.m.
If I did, it may be in mine.
Pause. No, well, that will the search will find it if it's in the trash. Because, and this would be related to the pressure washing.
Okay, I got one from him at 8:48. Well, that's from there. You mean the one where he said about Friday and didn't say Monday?
Right. So his claim is that he sent an email Friday night.
Didn't get it.
Probably around 5 or 6.
Hey, guys, we're going to step away for just a minute here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate, 844-326-3663. That's the number for the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone. The text line 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. Texter said, Rob, this isn't pro sports. College fans don't chase players. At the end of the day, fans will love the same teams as they always have. And I agree with that entirely, which is why I do not respectfully, of course, believe that any of y'all that have said when NIL goes big time, when it starts to move forward and gets bigger and becomes a more uncontrollable beast, I, Rob Brown, am out. I am done. I will not watch it anymore. I, again, with the utmost respect, don't believe you because your passion is not wrapped up in the starting quarterback. It's not wrapped up in the 5-star receiver. Your passion is wrapped up in the school and the logo and the colors and the tradition, not the guys who wear it. You may love the guys who wear it and represent it well, but you love it for the representation, not for them.
All right. I don't want people to think that I'm that guy that you're speaking to because I'm adapting. It is what it is. And I love Ohio State. I'm not going to stop watching them because of NIL. I'm not going to. Has the product changed? Will it continue to change? Yeah, that's just how it is. Eventually, they will be paid not as well as the NFL, but they'll be paid well, whatever. Either I go with it and still enjoy the product, or I move on and find a different sport during college football. And I'm not going to do that. So I don't want anyone to think that when he's speaking about this, that he's speaking to me, because he's not.
I am not, so that we're clear. Lonzo, I would almost say after the initial conversations we were having when NIL came to pass in its early days, I really did think Lonzo was going to be in that group.
No, man, because once it changed, it wasn't going back. So then you have to decide, am I going to be stuck in the past and wish and go on the airwaves or talk to people on the internet? College football used to be this, and I wish it was that again. It's not going to be. It's not. And this is just the latest change. There'll be other changes down the road. If you don't like change, then find something like Checkers. Checkers could never change. Checkers is always going to be Checkers.
King me, dog. I think this is why I haven't really gotten and don't feel any need to get all up in arms about this discussion, because we in the off season of college football, because there's no off season on the Rob Brown Show. We in the off season of college football have no football to invest our emotion in, so we invest in other conversations. That is why so many radio show hosts are able to pull out and lean on these very abstract concepts of topics that they hit on year after year after year after year, because we are looking for somewhere to put our sports passion and emotion. And if you're just a college football guy, that might be all you have. And it is the exact same reason that no matter what happens in the world of name, image, and likeness legislation moving forward, whether it is from the NCAA or a federal judge in Tennessee or the legislature of the United States of America or the damn Supreme Court, no matter where it comes from, and no matter what the future turns out to look like, and no matter what the ultimate result is on college football, the vast, overwhelming majority of y'all don't care as much as you think you do right now. You don't. You don't. Because your love, your passion, your dedication, your drive, as John in the Facebook stream just popped up and said, pay or no pay, go Dogs. I'm assuming he barked at the end. He didn't type it out, but I'm going to assume John barked when he typed that message.
Yeah, I think as a Georgia fan, you have to do that.
I think I think you're legally obligated in the state of Georgia to bark at other grown men.
If not, you'll be chastised.
Correct. You're not a real fan if you don't bark at people. Point here is, there's a lot of talk about, if NIL this, and I don't like that, and it's not the best way at this, and that's all well and good, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that in a couple of 100 days, when week 1 shows up and Clemson squaring off with Georgia in the Georgia Dome, the Mercedes-Benz Dome, and in the ATL, I'm going to guess that a lot of y'all that have issues with NIL right now are going to be tuned in. You're going to be watching. You're going to be there paying attention to that game. You're going to have bought tickets. You're going to have made sure that all your purple-clad buddies are over at the house. All your orange-wearing amigos are at the house, that the pigs in the blanket are fresh and the Swedish slow cooker meatballs are hot, and you're going to be all jazzed up for week 1 and the likelihood of Clemson knocking off the big, pardon the pun, Dogs right out of the gate, right? Because your passion is not in the players. Your passion's not in the guys that wear the tiger paw. Your passion's in the tiger paw. Your passion's not in the guys that wear the C. Your passion is the C. You support them, but you support them because they are carrying the tiger paw to glory, because they are carrying the block C into legend, because they are carrying your logo, the logo that represents you and your family and your school and your community. They are carrying that logo, and that is why you love them. Not the other way around. How many of you, point in case, when DJ Uiagalelei went up to Oregon State, how many of you went out and bought the black and orange Beeve logo? I'm going probably 0 of you because you're not a DJ fan. You're a Clemson fan.
Unless you're Big Dave, then you probably.
Unless you're Big Dave.
Yeah, you probably got a couple.
How many of you, when TL16 got down to the Jayville, immediately went out and bought the teal jersey? I know a few of you
I was
did.
going to say I was when the Jags were. There's places where there are a bunch
Sure.
of Jags fans, and those are all Clemson
A
fans.
few of you did, but why? Was it because you love TL? No, it was because TL16 carried the Tiger Paw to glory. What is wrong with me right now? Let me start that whole thing over.
It's my fault. It's catching. I will say that he was the best quarterback in the history of Clemson, so they're going to follow him a little while. We'll see if they're still Jags fans after last year. Boy, that was good.
You bought the teal. You became a Jags fan because you appreciated what Trevor Lawrence did for the Paw. He got you trophies. He got you titles. He got you awards. He won you a natty. He got you to the promised land, and he played out his whole career with your school. So you appreciate that because you feel as if the Tiger Paw means as much to him as it does to you. The reason you get bummed out when players leave ain't because of the money. It's not because they're leaving to go get paid. You're mad, you're upset, you hurt. And I understand it. It's not bad. It just is what it is. You are mad because that logo on your chest, it means something to you. If you're a Clemson fan, that Tiger Paw means something to you more than football. If you're a Carolina fan, that Block C means something to you that is greater than just the football team. It means that to you. And when a guy leaves that Block C behind to go get the bag at Ole Miss, like Juice is doing, when a guy leaves the Tiger Paw logo behind to go somewhere like Oregon State because he thinks he's going to have more play time and a system that better benefits him, you're not upset that they left. You're upset because they have proven to you that that logo doesn't mean to them what it means to you. And that stings a little bit because how much it means to you. And that's very understandable. But these guys, it's no different than it was 10 years ago. They're just allowed to leave now. That's it. You're not allowed to leave. You got to sit through the Sports Flash.
2 months ago, UConn began a winning streak that lasted 14 games. Since then, they've dropped only one. However, they have dropped 2 spots in the AP poll down to number 3. The top spot is now occupied by the Houston Cougars on a 5-game winning streak. Purdue is 2nd. Tennessee is 4th. North Carolina is 9th. Duke is 10th. Auburn 11th. Alabama 14th. And South Carolina is now at 18. North Carolina found themselves in a fight with Miami last night, and it was R.J. Davis that delivered the knockout punch. Davis threw down 4 straight three-pointers to open up a lead in the second half, making up 12 of his 42-point night. Davis was the only Tar Heel in double digits in the 75-71 win. Tune in tomorrow night at 6:30 as the Furman men's basketball team takes on Western Carolina right here on your home for Paladins football and basketball. That would be us right here on the Fan, upstate. We will talk about it more Thursday, Zach, but a little disappointed that it went chalk.
It was very chalky.
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
a swerve to be seen.
the matches themselves were really good,
I agree. It was a good show.
including the final match, which I don't think you've gotten to yet.
I have not. I just started the men's elimination chamber.
Which Kevin Owens is a star, and Logan Paul is really good, whether people wanted him to be or not. By the way, this break was normal size, which is why we're going to go like 2 or 3 minutes over. Which is fine, because I actually got to go to the restroom, so I'm happy about that. So you haven't seen an email today about not parking there. Just in case you got it and I didn't.
I have not.
Okay. Not that I'm worried about getting in trouble. I will point out because I decided to still park there. I'm helping them find an email problem. And now that they've tracked it down, and you're welcome if they track it down.
Because we're givers like that.
QC in the first break.
10-4.
Must be a makeup. You're all a bunch of cowards.
It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations.
Ain't like I could say, oh, no, that's not my car.
Exclusive address,
I don't know whose car that is.
That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
The other thing is, Zach, Cody says he's hunting. I want to see him do some hunting. Daggum hunting.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen, into hour number 3 of the Rob Brown radio program right here on the Fan Upstate. How do you do, Upstate South Carolina? Hello, America. What's up, world? Great to be with you. I am Rob Brown on the other side of the metaphorical glass this AM, the guy in charge of the radio broadcast, the radio station as a whole. Woo! He is, of course, the great one, Lonzo. We are glad to have you.
Hey, Big Daddy, how you doing?
As a part of the program today, 844-326-3663 is the number for the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone. You call that number, not only do you get to come on the radio broadcast and share your viewpoint with the world, but you also get to have a one-on-one conversation with Lonzo for a very brief second, which in and of itself is worth its weight in gold. Groovy. Just like that, people. Just like that. We have been pretty heavy on this most recent couple of NCAA judicial stories. I feel like we're going to get a lot of mileage out of the Law and Order dong over the next couple of months for sure. As the legal process plays out, the attorneys general of Virginia and Tennessee both getting after the NCAA, and a massive flag planted last week, the scope of which is really kind of starting to become realized by the college football landscape this week. Texter says, Rob, Lonzo seems to be a pretty big bandwagon guy with Ohio State in Kansas City. What happens if Ohio State starts to suck for the next 10 years? Is he going to jump to another team that has a higher salary cap? I don't think he's a bandwagon guy.
Bandwagon. Do you know what bandwagon is? I was born in Ohio, in the shadow of downtown on the south side of Columbus. And if you're not a Buckeyes fan, you get beat up.
Why did that
So,
start like you were about to sing a Jim Croce song about yourself?
well, if I was going to sing, it probably would have been a Dwight Yoakam song, since
Born
since
in
he
the
also
shadow
was born in the
of
shadow,
Columbus.
except on the rich side. Couldn't tell because he's singing country, but
Grew
still.
up on the wrong side of the tracks.
There is a country song about my redneck woman from Parsons Avenue, which is like connected to where I lived. But
Teacher threw a chair at me. I climbed up in the top of a tree.
I did do that quite a bit. It's safe up there. So bandwagon. I mean, dude, are you just trolling? I mean, get some better material. I mean,
Texas said college football won't die, but there's a lot of fans that will only watch the playoffs, just like 80% of people only watch March Madness. Gambling keeps the regular season interesting. Oh, that's it. No. Texter, respectfully disagree with that. I don't think it's going to die at all. And I'll tell you why. Because I would say, 90% of college football teams begin their season knowing that the only way they're making it to the playoffs is a small miracle. And with the teams going, or with the format changing to a 12-team playoff format, I suspect that number is going to go from 90% of teams to like 85% of teams will begin the year knowing they don't have a snowball's chance in Hades at making the playoffs. But the reason that we keep watching is not because we expect to be national champions every year. It would be nice, but we don't expect it.
That may be why you don't watch. I mean,
Again,
I just
10%. 10%.
There'll
But
be more
you-
people excited this year because, oh man, my team lost. We're done. Is no longer a
I
thing.
agree.
It's no longer now.
Yes.
My team lost one game. We still got a shot at this.
That is why I just said in years gone by, 90% of college football teams start the year knowing they don't have a snowball's chance in Hades of making it. And now with the playoffs expanding to 12 teams, now that number goes from like 90% of fans to like 85% of fans who believe they don't have a chance yet. Fans are still turning out in droves. All these teams are still on television. If nobody was watching, they wouldn't be on TV, man.
Yeah, tell me you Clemson fans out there aren't already making your tailgating plans and what you're going to do this year and all that. I guess you do that kind of early, don't you? I've never tailgated before. I just don't get the point. But I would guess that you get the RV ready and all that kind of stuff.
Get the dung ready.
The-
Our buddy Shane on Twitter.
What'd you call it?
Dung dung.
Yeah, it sounds like you said dong dong.
Shane just said, in the criminal justice system, NIL-based offenses are considered especially heinous. In upstate South Carolina, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Rob Brown Show. These are their stories. Golf clap, Shane Barrett. Golf clap.
All right, so you're
Well
you're just trying
Well
to
done.
you're just trying to get on a promo. That's all. And you did. Good job.
As I told Diesel yesterday, we are professional wrestling. All right. Everything I do, I'm trying to get on a
You
promo.
told Diesel that?
Yeah.
Okay. all
I
right.
say that to you on a daily basis.
Yeah. Okay. I just didn't know. I mean.
That's because he was
just-
talking
you just-
smack about wrestling again, and I had to be like, you realize we are professional wrestlers,
Wait.
just without the wrestling, right?
He's still doing that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is what it is. I got him there.
Does he feel cool when he does
I
it?
don't know.
I mean, he's already got that sweet beard. Why do
He
you
does.
got to do stuff
And the
like that?
medium tees.
Yeah, and he fills them out nicely.
I am going to argue that no, college football is not going to die. The regular season is not going to die. It's not going anywhere. There may be a few people who genuinely stop watching, but the number grows year after year and it's not going to stop. Texter says, Rob, I do not care at all. Like, not one bit. Lower ticket prices is all I care about. Hey, I respect the you-know-what out of that too, but here's a fun thing that's
Dadgum
happening.
economy. Come on, Rob.
here's a fun thing that's happening right now. A fun thing that's happening, if you keep an eye, this is taking place. I'm using them as an illustration because they're the most recent one. Florida State University, in a year where FSU fans, for the first time in a very, very long time, are quite excited about the future of their football program.
Why?
They just went 13-0 and are
Well,
your
what did they get for that?
Are your co-national champions. Okay? You're 13-0. There were 2 teams undefeated at the end of the season. They are co-national champions.
Thank you for not throwing anything at me. I appreciate that.
Florida State at a point in time where their team is giving their fans reason for hope. Do you know what's happening right now as we speaketh? About a half of the stadium in Tallahassee right now is dirt. That is because Florida State is ripping out a few thousand seats to replace them with a very large sideline VIP area where you can spend even more money to go to the game, to stand in a larger but less densely occupied area where there will be food service and a bar, et cetera, et
Will there
cetera.
be a pool?
No, that's Jacksonville.
I know, but Florida likes to do that.
I want to
sort
watch.
of
I
thing.
still want to watch a game from a pool in a stadium. Shut up! I think it's awesome. All right.
Would you leave your shirt on?
Yeah, I'm totally sunshirt guy.
Okay.
I've reached the stage in my life where I'm sunshirt guy.
All right, just
And it's
curious.
not even because it's like, oh, let me hide up fat. I'm fat. I know it. I admit it. I don't care anymore. It's because I've hit the age in my life where I'm like, oh gosh, there's a lot of UV in the atmosphere today.
Yeah, in my case, it's just a lot of body hair.
So Florida State right now is quite literally decreasing the number of seats available post the pandemic. While television numbers are up post-pandemic, in-person attendance numbers for every school, with the exception of a few, attendance numbers are down across the college football landscape. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first is every single year it becomes cheaper and easier to install an incredible entertainment system in your home. I, ladies and gentlemen, within the last 7 months, acquired a 75-inch HD 1080p, all the bells and whistles, smart TV for the Bro Cave. I not only don't leave that room anymore, but when I bought it, the fiance said, Rob, that's entirely too much television. What a ridiculous purchase you have made. And guess who's in my Bro Cave watching her Law and Order SVU on an almost daily basis now, because the entertainment system kicks massive entire amounts of and she knows it.
That and that couch looks comfortable.
Couch is super comfortable.
Yeah.
Also got the gaming chair. Undefeated is a good gaming chair. So when I bought a 75-inch television, and now that you can, if you are dedicated to the quest, can find ways to watch games that cut down on the BS around them, it takes a lot to ask me to go sit directly in the summer sun of August when temperatures across the Southeast are normally in the upper 90s with, by the way, $19 bottled waters to keep myself cool, when I can sit on my couch, which, by the way, not only do I have a very comfortable couch and a 75-inch television, but right to the right of my couch is a half-size refrigerator that is full of nothing but beer, which means I don't have to pay $17 for a Miller Lite. I just reach over, open the fridge, grab a cold brewski out, shut it back, and I'm good to go. Don't even have to get up out of my seat. And oh, by the way, I don't have to wait in line to pee in a trough. Okay? I'm in real good shape, man. It's kind of hard, unless you are a diehard, to justify. I got friends, and especially maybe now that I'm almost 40, it's just because my friends are aging out of the crazy college kid bracket, because most of my friends have kids now. Dragging them to games ain't really it like it was when we were 23 and sneaking Flask into the student section. Not that I did that. It's real hard to justify leaving the 75-inch with the cold beer literally arm's length away from where I'm seated to pay $100 to go to a game. But if I had $1 million, as the Bare Naked Ladies once sang, if I had $1 million and I could pay $200 to go to a game, like I would pay $10 to go to a game now. And on top of that, that gets me into an elite section where I got standing room and I'm not crowded in and sitting on a hot aluminum seat in the direct summer sun, but I got shade and a waiter. Yeah, I'm much more likely to go to the games. And schools have figured this out. For the record, just so we're clear, once again, got to drive home the point. If the schools really cared, if it was really about anything more than making money, would they, A, add more regular people seats so that they could charge less per seat to make the same amount of money? Or B, would they add more very rich people seats where the high rollers can show up and throw around hundies like it's going out of style because one they're doing and one they're not? A lot of schools right now are decreasing the number of seats they have for people like you and I, and they were increasing them for the boosters who put a couple of milli into the program every year. Their friends is absolutely a reason for that. There's a reason for that because those people put money into the program in exponentially larger amounts than you and I do as your run-o'-the-mill fan, which I am for sure. Texture said DJ didn't even know where DJ went until they got decent. Yes, exactly my point. Ain't none of y'all got mad that DJ went somewhere. You were just mad that he didn't commit to the C like you did. That's all I'm saying.
Come on. There were a lot of people wanted him gone.
Sure.
And I'm probably upset that he did fairly well.
But there's also a lot of
But
people.
why did he play that way when he was in Clemson?
Had DJ went and said, you know what? I recognize that I'm not the starter anymore. I recognize that, unfortunately, my performance did not reach the level that we hoped that it would. And I understand they want to go ahead and make the move to Cade Klubnik. So I am going to respectfully accept my position on the depth chart as QB2 and will do everything in my power to help Cade Klubnik succeed. He would have been labeled a damn regional hero amongst the Clemson faithful, regardless of his performance as the quarterback. But that's not what happened. Instead, he said, fine, you want to demote me? I'm going to go find somewhere else to be QB1 in a system that works for me. You're not mad that he stayed. You're not mad that he left. You're not mad about anything other than the fact that the C and the Tiger Paw did not mean to him what it meant to you. That's what I firmly in my icy black heart believe, that the majority of the people upset about NIL and the transfer portal are not upset about NIL and the transfer portal. You're upset that it is now harder to maintain. A, that's what coaches are upset about. It's harder to maintain, A. And B, it is more frequently putting on display something that has always been true. The majority of the players don't love the logo like you love the logo. It's just that in a bygone era, they couldn't do a damn thing about it. Once they were in, once they made their decision, it didn't matter if they made it a day or a week or a season or 4 before they realized this ain't for me anymore. This is not where I want or need to be. It's not what's best for me. Sorry, third string left guard. You can't, even though there's a school right down the road that you will be the starter and get playing time. And maybe reach your maximum potential of being an NFL draft pick. Who the hell knows? You can't go find out because you signed a scholarship when you were 17 years old and you're obligated to that. Now they get to go, hey, dudes, I was here because I thought this school was best for me. Turns out it wasn't. It wasn't best for me. And now I'm going to go somewhere that it is. And you're just mad that you were learning that the Tiger Paw on the helmet does not mean to a lot of the football players what it means to you. And you think that it should, but it doesn't. And it never has, man.
So what you're saying is they showed up for the job, didn't like the job, and went to another place of employment.
Yes. If that is how you would like to phrase it as a perfect analogy, yes, I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'm good with that. Let's see. Texture says, I will watch college football on multiple TVs from noon to 11 every single Saturday, regardless who is playing. Correct.
At once? I mean, because you got two. How do you train one eye on one on the, or do you just, I mean, I'm just.
I watch all the TV.
Yeah. Again, I've only got my GED in knowing ball, and you're like got your doctorate by now. So
dial in a play that's happened out of the periphery. You see this team's coming up to the line, so I'm going there next. When I look up there over here, I got the kickoff. So when this play's over, I'm going over there. It's a talent, man.
Why doesn't
some of us just have God-given birthright talent?
Why did you sound like Vince McMahon when you said that's probably not a good thing?
My God.
Why doesn't college football have the red zone like the NFL does? I mean,
100% broadcasting rights, because the NFL can put all their teams under one banner, but the Big Ten's on Fox and the SEC's on ESPN.
All right, that makes sense.
The MAC's over here and the whack, wiggity whack is over there. So you just can't. You just can't. Now, I would absolutely one day believe that at some point down the line, the team like ESPN and Fox with the big boys, there's going to come a day where they're going to quad box
super conferences. Then they'll be able to do that because all the teams will be either in one conference or the other, either Big Ten or SEC. Okay, that's something to look forward to.
Yep, that's it. That's 100% it. Texture says FCS does it right. Regular season is still awesome. I mean, correct. I agree because they have a expanded playoff. Guess what we get next year? It's expanded playoff.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I'm really getting excited about that.
Texture says, disagree. I live for the environment. I live for the fans, the cheers, the sweaty fat next to me. Its vibes are better than drugs.
All right, so text back and tell us, do you get your RV? When do you start getting it ready for I legitimately want to know, do you plan those things or do you just decide the night before we're taking this? Because I got to believe there's a month or two prep. You know, you get your position, you paid for this is where I'm going to be every weekend that they're home, and maybe sometimes we'll just go up there when they're not home and just watch the game on TV.
Yeah. Let me make this to me. I think I can make this very clear. Going to college football games is an experience and a wonderful one, but I would also say that, you know, especially when your team's mid, it's kind of hard to get excited when it's 102 with 1,000% humidity.
It's also hard when you have a really old stadium and there's a lot of orange everywhere, 100%. And it's hard to get around. It's you gotta walk 5 miles from the parking space.
The haters. They like to drink their haterade and eat their hater tots.
I'm just speaking some truths. That's all.
The haters.
Not a hater. Not a hater.
A little bit of a hater.
Have you had to do it? No, because you'd be in the press box, so you wouldn't have to do that.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So. My seats at stadiums, always air conditioned, baby. I love my job. Love my job.
Sometimes the food is good, depending on what stadium they're
that
at.
is not true. I've been to a Palmetto Bowl in Columbia. Can't wait to get over. I actually haven't been to a Palmetto Bowl in Clemson yet. It is way high up on the list. I have also been in press box games at both.
Yeah, I would say you'll get hot dogs at Clemson.
Love a hot dog.
Maybe some boiled peanuts.
Love a boiled peanut.
Probably like hard grits balls, possibly.
The hell is a hard grits ball?
I just made it up, but it probably does exist.
I'd try it. Like deep fried grits? Yes, please.
You know what I would do with it? I'd throw it at somebody. That's what I would do.
You would. I agree with you. I love a college football environment. I love a home college football game. What I'm saying is there are also Saturday mornings where I would theoretically be able to drive an hour and a half or 2 hours in either direction and go to one that I got to tell you, sitting on the couch in my boxers, watching on a stretched out couch with cold beer in the fridge makes it hard, as entertaining as the fat next to me might be at the game. Texter, to quote you directly. But I get it. Mongo texted, said, brother, I'm with you. I love my Gamecocks, but I ain't paying what they want for a ticket when I can sit home in the AC and enjoy myself.
By the way, there are deep fried grits balls.
Where?
I've just a bunch of them. They call them fritters, but
that's what a fritter is.
But they're shaped and they look like hush puppies.
Yeah, I've had fritters many times.
There's also some cakes, but I mean, if it's deep fried, it's just going to taste like something deep fried. But you know, the thing is though, for the first time ever, grits would actually taste like something, maybe.
I love a grit. Love some grits. Red texts the show. What's up, Red? He said, that was a mighty fine Vince impression. I don't want to do Vince anymore. That was an accident. We don't do Vince anymore. Vince is canceled. Texture said, I don't have an RV because I am financially irresponsible. See my comment about drugs. I like it. It's a good text.
Wow.
It's a good text. We got to run to a break. We're back after this. Rob Alonzo and you on the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys. Another ad right here. We'll be right back. Please don't go anywhere. Yes, getting chastised by the boss is usually something people try to avoid.
Yeah, you'd have to yell up to me. So, I mean, you know. I owe him for making me sit next to him during the Star Awards.
To find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly, different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Hurry up! Yeah, we'd all like to. Hot water home.
That's it, family meeting. We can all enjoy long, steaming, hot showers, even though after life, which it's seems is always me. But go ahead, have that imaginary argument about your
So if we had a 12-team playoff last year, would have Ohio State made the playoff?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they
Wouldn't have mattered. You'd have been in.
they were not playing for the Big Ten championship.
As a 11-1, you'd have been an at-large, and you'd have probably been like the.
I think they were ranked like 6 or something.
You'd 100%.
So, yeah.
Without a doubt, you'd have been in. You'd have been in. Florida State would have been in.
Would the number 2 team in the Big Ten, whoever it was at Michigan, beat? Was it Iowa or something?
They would have been in as well. You'd have had 3 Big Ten teams.
Hmm.
You'd had 3 Big Ten. You'd have had 2 or 3 SEC, probably 3. Both of those teams would have had 1 champ and 2 at large. There's 6. FSU would have been 7. I'll have to go look.
Smith and James in the next break. Clemson would not have been it.
No, not with 4 losses. Michigan, Oregon would have been in. That's 8. If the SEC got a 3rd, it would have been Mizzou. They were 11-2. Oh, sorry, 11-1 before the bowl game. Or Ole Miss, maybe both, honestly. Everybody else was 10 or more. So it would have been Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, and then I forgot what's your highest rated conference champ outside of that? I'll have to go back and look.
What's up, man?
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Wesley said, "Rob, how many glasses of whiskey did you celebrate with last night?" It was bourbon, Wesley. Thank you for checking. Thank you for asking. And the answer is 4. Had a nice sit-down dinner. I got to tell you, I think it's coincidental. The fiance called me on her lunch break, and she's like, "What do you want to do tonight? Anywhere you want to go tonight? It's on me. What do you want to do?" I was like, "I don't know. Let me think about it." And I spent the day because there's a bar downtown, Zoe, that just put in. They're called sports simulators. They're like a golf simulator, but you can kick soccer penalty kicks. You can shoot pucks into a virtual hockey net with a goalie blocking it. You can play golf courses. It's like a sport. So you can play any sport you want on the simulator. And I was like, maybe I'll go there. And then I thought there's one place in particular that I very much enjoy. Their smoked chicken wings. Maybe we'll go get some chicken wings for dinner. I had all these thoughts all day. And then she got home at 5:30. And I will tell you straight up, old Robbie B did not catch a siesta yesterday after we got off of work. I just had too much to do. And by the time I looked down and was like, it's nap time, it was like 4:45. She gets home about 4:15. I'm like, not enough time. 15-minute nap doesn't do anything for me. So I stayed up and I was like, all right, where are we going? Where are we going? She got home and she said, what do you want to do? And I said, I think I'm good to like sit right here and open up the expensive bottle of bourbon and do nothing at all. And that's what we did. And it was immaculate.
I'm sure you ate some too, though.
We did. We had a nice stay-at-home dinner. She cooked me a nice little dinner. We watched a couple of episodes of Law and Order SVU because that's our jam right now. And then we went and I watched some NBA basketball, and that was pretty much the evening.
That's 1 year before 40 birthday celebration.
And that's what. And I told her, I was like, "Hey, I'm a FYI you. Next year, Rager. Next year, Rager." I really thought I was going to Rager last night, and I'm not. In fact, not only am I not, but the wanted to spend the birthday with the fiance last night. Tonight, myself and like 4 or 5 of the fellas are going out. Big night for the boys tonight. Like one does. We're gonna go sit in chairs and smoke a cigar tonight. That's the big celebration. And again, I can't say it's because I have entered the final year of my 30s.
What's the conversation like at that sort of thing?
A little bit of anything and everything, man. Solving the world's problems one at a time over cigars and bourbon. That's what we do. Take that cigar, dip just the end of it in the bourbon so you get a little bourbon onto that smoke, and then you figure out. What I'll probably do tonight is solve the Israel-Palestine conflict. That's probably what I'll do over cigars tonight. That's kind of how it goes. All right, we got some more stories we need to get to on the radio program. We talked enough college.
By the way,
football,
that
right?
probably is how the world's problems, when they do get solved,
Yeah.
get solved
100%.
by something like that. Probably.
100%. You gotta give the people a chance, man. Gotta give the people a chance. I wanted to let's see, which one I got all these. Oh, here's one I wanted to get to. I've been talking about coaches moving on. You will, of course, inevitably remember that about a week and a half ago, Sean Elliott, who was the head coach at not South Carolina, was the head coach at Georgia State University, decided to leave the position in order to move on to become a assistant coach at South Carolina. Gamecock fans got very hype about it, and why wouldn't you? As a texter called him the other day, Sean Elliott is back, baby. It left Georgia State in a difficult position because they lost their head coach days before spring practice was set to begin. By that point, you're supposed to have your whole coaching roster filled out, ready to rock and roll, ready to get the new kids in the loop, start teaching them the system, and get your team ready to go. And the squad...
Why didn't he enter the portal earlier? I mean, that would have been, better
for some reason, all of you college football fans don't particularly care when a coach hits the transfer portal. We only don't like it when players do it. Wag of the finger at you players for doing what coaches have been allowed to do forever and always, which is go where you want to go. In fact, it's still worse on the players because they can transfer, but there's only like 2 little windows that they can do it. Coaches can pretty much get up and go whenever the hell they want to go. But for the sake of my blood pressure,
I don't feel sorry for you, $1 million quarterback in college. I don't feel sorry for you at all.
there's like 3 of those tops.
Oh, come on, there's more than that.
Show me the numbers, dog. Show me the numbers.
I'll be over here researching.
Have at. So, Georgia State was on the hunt for a new head coach. And yesterday, it was announced they had found him. Georgia assistant coach Dell McGee is on his way to be the Panthers' new guy in charge. The 50-year-old was the Bulldogs' run game coordinator and running backs coach last year. Deep ties in the state. He was a high school coach for years in Georgia. He joins the Panthers after spending the past 8 seasons as an assistant at Georgia, primarily working with the running backs while helping the team to the college football playoff titles of 2021 and 2022. Played college football at Auburn. Had a brief NFL career as a defensive back with the Arizona Cardinals back in 1998. McGee also previously coached at Georgia Southern, where he was an assistant and was the interim head coach for a win in the GoDaddy Bowl back in the 2015 season. McGee, of course, replaces Sean Elliott. I don't necessarily care. I don't think neither do you, primarily about Dell McGee making the move over. It's a deeper conversation to me to be held here. Last week, I saw article after article after blog post after blog post after blog post after podcast after podcast of people saying NIL and portal needs to go because they're going to make it impossible for Group of 5 and lower level football to survive. In fact, FCS football will die if this is allowed to continue. How in the world can you expect them to even find football head coaches if coaches in FCS jobs would rather be assistants at the FBS level because of all of this? And I said last week what I'm going to say to you again now. The ranks of aspiring coaches are full. I played with, and I did this last night because I was curious. I played football just my senior year of high school with 7 guys who are currently on coaching staffs of FCS schools or higher. 7 guys. 4 of them offensive linemen, 2 running backs, and 1 wide receiver coach. 7 guys I played with are now coaching football at the FCS level or higher. That's from one graduating class. So by our graduating class, by the way, that graduated in this May 21 years ago. There are still 7 guys from that class that are in the coaching ranks. And all of them, I assume, though I haven't spoken to most of them in many, many years, would love an opportunity to be a head coach in an FCS school. The reality is this: the coaching ranks are filled with hungry young dudes who are willing to do what it takes. This is why I have said the complaints are coming primarily from guys that are already head coaches. Why? Because the job was X for a very long time, and you could make a lot of money doing it. Hell, there are coaches right now who are getting paid more than active coaches to be not coaches. Willie Taggart got a check from Florida State last December from Florida State. He hasn't been the head coach of Florida State in a lot of years.
Hey, good for him.
And was still getting fat stacks from the Noles to stay there. Or I guess I should say to not stay there. The point is,
he might still be living there somewhere.
No, he is head coach at FAU.
No, I mean in Florida. He might still be living
Oh, yeah,
in Florida.
I think he's still in Florida. I think he's the head coach at FAU now. Oh no, he moved on. He is the running backs coach for the Baltimore Ravens now. He's in the NFL. How about that?
Oh man, he went
Attaboy,
where it's
Willie.
cold.
Attaboy, Willie. So yeah, he was FAU until last year. Now he's with Baltimore. Anyway, the point is this: it's football. There will always be guys who want to coach ball and succeed at coaching ball. You now have a job to do. If you are an FCS or a group of 5 school team, you can still find that guy. You can still succeed. You just got to go find that guy that's hungry. Here's a cat in Del McGee. He's 50, which on one hand, I'm going to say he's 50. On the other hand, I'm going to say he's only 50. Nick Saban was 70 years old. This guy could coach for 2 more decades and not be as old as Nick Saban when Nick Saban was still on top of the game and walked away from it. 50 years old, and not only was he 50 years old, but he was in a rather prestigious position. He was the run game coordinator, one step away from being the OC at the University of Georgia. You may have heard of the University of Georgia. Shut up, Keegan. Nobody asked you. You may have heard of the University of Georgia, as they are very good. Keegan felt the need to point out that the 50-year-old is only 11 years older than me. Nobody asked.
You know what? Thank you for doing the math, Keegan. I was going to say, Georgia, didn't they win a national championship like a decade ago or something?
They did. Actually, it was a decade in radio years. It was actually a year and a month ago, and also 2 years and a month ago, if you're really keeping track.
Oh yeah, they're done, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say the dynasty likely not concluded.
Yeah.
But the point is here that Del McGee was a major part of the offense of a team that many people consider on the verge of dynastic. And he decided, you know what? I'm the run game coordinator. I'm one real bad game away from becoming the offensive coordinator. If I become the offensive coordinator, I'm on the fast track to an FBS head coaching position. But you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm hungry. I want to go be a head coach now. So I'm going to go to Georgia State. And it took off and he's gone. And he's Georgia State's head coach now. The point here is this. Is this an experimental hire? Yeah, sure. Maybe guys not that I'm aware of. Been a head coach before. At least not above the high school level. But he's been around excellent coaching. He's been around excellent football. He's been around a very close to dynastic football program. He has the opportunity to go to prove himself, and who's to say not elevate that position and elevate his own station in the college football coaching ranks. So the portal and NIL are not the death of anything. They are not the death of anything. People are going to tell you this because, as they do with anything else, you ever noticed any time that one political side of the American governmental system or the other dislikes anything, they don't get up and say, hey, this is a bad idea because it's going to cause this minor change over here in the economy or this minor change over here in our litigation process. No, what do they say? If this policy goes into place, people will die. And they do that.
You just went Vince again. I don't know what's going on today.
That's just deep voice. That's just deep voice.
No,
Scary
but
guy.
it's the gravel that you've had all day. Just makes it sound a little more like
they will die. It's not true.
I appreciate the effort of you making sure you didn't do it that time.
It turns out people like to use very dramatic rhetoric in order to make things seem like they are worse than they, are. It's not going to be the death of anything. Here's the thing. It has always been a playing field tilted towards the big dogs. Earth. Always. By the way, I don't know if you saw it earlier, but our boy John, the Georgia dog, actually typed out, go dogs, bark, 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 bark.
Yeah, I saw it, but I heard
awesome.
I heard barking in my head. Yeah, that's what I heard.
It's always been tilted in the direction of the big schools. They have always gotten the TV distribution money. They have always had more and bigger boosters. They have always had a exponentially higher attendance and merch rate than anybody else. Yet, the FCS level persists to exist. It's not going anywhere because it's still an excellent opportunity. It's still an excellent opportunity for players and coaches. It's needed in the land of college football. It may not be as supported as we like. It may not be as well funded as we would like, but it is a necessary component of the college football landscape. And because it is, while it might be more difficult, it's not going to die. This is a dude at 50 years old, which ain't young, but it ain't old, who is looking and said, I am going to leave arguably the most successful college football franchise of the past 3 years, and I'm going to take a job here. Why? Because it is my jump. It is my leap of faith. It is my spot where I can go prove myself as an HC to then move on to bigger and better. Yeah, they lost Sean Elliott. Sean Elliott, I don't know, lost the fire to be a head coach or didn't want to put it, and that's fine. But there are guys that will. There are guys that will say, I will navigate the landscape to find success. And Dell McGee is that guy for Georgia State. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Smith.
All right, guys, one more live reading. We're coming right back. Y'all stay right there, please. And thank you. right, dudes and dudettes, thanks for hanging in there. We are back. Oh, that was Skrilla that hit us with the bark, 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 bark.
Don't throw me in there. He's the one who said it, not me.
My bad, Skrilla. My bad. How dare I indeed?
Did you look at what I sent you?
I'm about to.
All those the top 10 athletes who made $1 million.
I didn't say athletes. I said quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's 4 in there.
Okay, so I said 3 and there's 4. JJ McCarthy, who is not a college quarterback anymore.
Right, this is from last year.
Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler. Spencer made over $1 million. Attaboy. Angel Reese, Travis Hunter, not a quarterback. Caleb Williams is quarterback. Arch Manning's getting almost $3 million, and he's not even. Good on him, bro. Livy.
I mean, I don't expect you to say that I was right, but I was right.
So you got 5, most of which who are not in college football anymore.
Right. They were last year. You can only go on last year's numbers.
Ronnie James is making $6 million.
You know, they had the year before in the first article that I looked at, and Bryce Young was making $1 million in college.
JJ McCarthy was making $1 million and left the league or left college ball. I would also point out that none of the quarterbacks on this list that had the opportunity to stay, with the exception of Arch, actually Arch is transferring too, all of them are either going to the league or transferring schools. None of these guys are sticking around.
Just imagine if they had to stay there, if they had to sign that contract someone was talking about earlier in order to get their money. We should be able to.
So Lonzo sent me an interesting list about the top NIL making college football athletes on the list from last year, according to MarketWatch.com. Number 10, J.J. McCarthy, left to go to the NFL. Tied for number 8, 2 quarterbacks. Bo Nix, left to go to the NFL. Spencer Rattler, left to go to the NFL. At number 7, Angel Reese, LSU basketball player. Number 6, Travis Hunter, not a quarterback, but plays for Dion. There's value in that. Caleb Williams, $2.7 million, left to go to the league. Arch Manning, $2.8 million, not playing. That's a name endorsement. Livy Dunn, the gymnast from LSU, $3.2 million. Shedeur Sanders, Dion's kid. You get Dion, $4.8 million. And number 1 making $6 million, Bronny James, LeBron's kid. The top 2 got it because of their daddies. Let's call it what it is.
All right, so I'm not going to do the Nepo thing. I just will say those are all wonderful student athletes, not employees.
For sure. Congratulations on them for making endorsement deals as amateur athletes. Let's get a phone call in here before the break. Chris has been kind enough to hang on the line. He joins the Rob Brown Show. Chris, welcome in, big dog. Good to have you.
How interesting you run through that list of the different NIL numbers there, and you talk about potential nepotism. How about we look at the coaching ranks and salaries and see how much of that is linked to nepotism as well? Oh, that's neither here nor there, fellas. So what I wanted to call about in regards to the NIL and the whining that we're hearing from media and from coaches, it boils down to a very simple fact. We are asking coaches to do more for their dollar. For the exorbitant salaries that the coaches are getting, they're being asked to do more. What is the more that they're being asked to do? To gasp, actually care about the talent and recruit the talent throughout the year, not just the one time it takes to get them to sign on the dotted line. Hold on a second. I have to pick myself up from my fainting couch. What is that similar to? I don't know. The real world. People want to talk about, well, you can't just quit whenever something gets hard. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I can.
In fact, if on LinkedIn, they released a study not too long ago. It was in conjunction with Glassdoor, a thing that looks at job titles and salaries, things like that. Over the last 6 years, people who stayed at the same job over that 6-year period made 26% less at this point than people who change jobs every 18 months.
Yeah.
Changing jobs, changing locations, changing situations creates better financial situations for you. Coaches have known that for a long time. Now the players are getting an opportunity to do it. And the people who have the most problem with it are the people who, and forgive me, I'm not saying that you guys are in this role, but what happens is it's a labor versus management thing. Labor gets more rights, management doesn't like it. So many people gnashing their teeth about it think that in the real world, they're on the side of management. My brothers in Christ, you are labor. You don't realize this. You keep siding with management in these conversations, but just because you're assistant manager at Strickland Propane, you are not management, homie. You are labor. You are a cog in the machine that makes it go. You are not the owner of the machine. And why so many people refuse to realize that when it comes to 18 to 22-year-old bodies just blows my mind.
Chris, bravo. Bravo. Nailed it. 100%, 5 of 5, 10 stars, would recommend, Yelp positive review. Nailed it. I have nothing to add. Lonzo might. We'll find out after this sports flash.
Wow. I don't care if it counts. After 24 years here, how much money did I leave on the table? And I am management because executive's in my title. So take that, Chris. Clemson defensive tackle DeMonte Capehart has been reinstated with the football team after weapon and traffic charges against him were dropped. Capehart was charged earlier this month with unlawful possession of firearms and careless operation of a vehicle, but both were dropped after completion of a pretrial intervention program. Clemson begins spring workouts tomorrow. 2 months ago, UConn began a winning streak that lasted 14 games. Since then, they've dropped only one. However, they have dropped 2 spots in the AP poll down to number 3. The top spot is now occupied by the Houston Cougars. Tune in tomorrow night at 6:30 as the Furman men's basketball team takes on Western Carolina right here on your home for Paladins football and basketball. That would be us, the Fan, upstate. No, he said brothers in Christ, Nolan. Again, I want to point out they should get paid because they're getting paid. I don't care about that, but quit acting like they're not employees. That's all my argument is.
Surgery is their only option. They want to stay away from that path and they come to us almost as a last hope. So we're using our own body's properties to help manage pain, to help slow arthritis down, keep the patients active with no downtime, and get back to what they enjoy doing. I love what I do. QC Kinetics regenerative treatments from our board-certified providers help heal and restore aching joints. No surgery, harmful drugs, or downtime. Call for your free consultation today. Call QC Kinetics, 864-448.
Well, that's true. I mean, who's not labor other than the ultimate person in charge or whatever? All I hear is a bunch of daggum wordsmiths. They're getting paid. They're employees from somebody to do the thing that they're doing. But I was right. There are a lot more millionaires than he's not saying I was right, but I was right. And you can tell him, Moles, because he knows. Not like I need to give you permission to tell him because you're going to anyway. So he was wrong. I was right. Tell him he was wrong. I was right. And I proved I was right with sources, which are always right. Yes, he was sent to the silent place, Greg. That's where you go when you're wrong, and then you're allowed to enter when you admit that you were wrong.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say, play the Fan Upstate on your HD radio at WFBC HD3. Oh, there's just one more thing. And on your computer at the
FanUpstate.com.
It's raining now, so I ain't getting no email. Just saying.
Any other employees are listening, don't park next to the building when you get here.
There's no email saying not to park next to the building. I'm the only one who did it. Only one with guts.
Hour number 4, the final hour of the Rob Brown Show is underway. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, on the ones and the twos. Should you wish to be a part of the radio broadcast, now is a spectacular time to do it. The renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone is there for you. 844-326-3663. 844-FAN-FONE. You may text us on the text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. You can shoot me a TweetX post at the Rob Brown Show, at the Rob Brown Show. You can TweetX post Lonzo at Lonzo on Word, Lonzo on WORD. If you want to come at us in that direction, you are welcome to do so. And of course, if you want to email me, if you got something a little more long format, but don't want to come on air with it, rob.brown at thefanupstate.com, rob.brown at thefanupstate.com. So, Chris's phone call to end that last segment, I liked it a lot. And I liked it a lot because Chris was correct.
By the way, it's kind of creepy. You sound like Vince McMahon again. And when you said, I liked it a lot, you probably, you should get rid of that.
I yelled a lot this weekend, okay? This is just what you're going to get today. You're still getting the juice. You're still getting the gas. You're still getting the audio Red Bull. But it is what it is, man. Although this would be a dope voice to have all the time.
No, I don't think,
welcome back to the Rob Brown Show right here and only on the Fan Upstate.
You're very close to creepy weather guy right now.
It's raining. It's going to rain for a while. If, like Greg, you need to take the dog out to poop emoji, but he won't do it in the rain because he's a diva. Sucks to be you, bud.
Not Greg, the dog. Although Greg
might poop in the woods. We don't know.
Greg might actually be a diva also. He might actually be one.
There's
I don't know.
no way of knowing. How could we possibly know anything about Greg?
Oh.
It's weird.
You also sound like the narrator from some weird sitcom.
In a world where Lonzo has taken over, I got nothing.
There'd be lots of joy. It would be the sun would always be shining. And Lonzo would always be right. Reality isn't that way, though, unfortunately.
All right. Let's talk some NFL draft as the combine is getting underway in Indianapolis, Indiana. We know the list of quarterbacks who will not be working. You know what I sound like? I sound like a poor man Scott Farrell.
No, I was thinking you sound more like, what's his name? Talk about M&Ms.
Talking about what?
Talk about M&Ms.
Talk about M&Ms?
Or Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh, you mean Will Arnett when he's doing his serious guy voice? I think you sound like Will Arnett. I couldn't remember his voice, but I knew you would get there if I threw out a clue. I'm like, I sound like that dude with the really dope movie trailer, and you're like, no. You sound like Lego Batman, bro. Which I guess is not bad. I only work in black, sometimes really, really dark gray. So the combine taking place in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we're starting to find out who will be working out and who won't. We know. Rob's got the In a World movie trailer for us. That's what I'm going for. Michael Penix Jr., Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams will not work out, nor will Marvin Harrison Jr., and there's no need for them to. But there's one very interesting thing that is taking place right now. The Atlanta Falcons are officially in the market for a quarterback. And why wouldn't they be? No, I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that the Falcons are a quarterback away, but I feel like they are closer to it than they aren't.
Come on, how hard is it to win the NFC South?
Texter said, Rob, do the remainder of the hour as Lego Batman.
Could you not do that?
I don't know yet. I'm pretty sure I'm committed to finishing this segment at the very least.
Okay, so only 8 more minutes of this
It
possible.
sounds like creepy NPR guy.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
So the Falcons.
Of course,
in the
all
mix.
NPR guys sound creepy to me, but
In the mix for a quarterback, and it's not particularly shocking. We've already been told that there's discussion about making the move to get Justin Fields out of Chicago or potentially being in the mix to take Chicago's #1 overall pick. I'm not sure which I can't do it. I really want to. It's effort though, dude. Texas said, I'm a delivery driver. Yo, the Armada represent. Sorry, the Armada represent. I went in to do a delivery, came back out, and Rob is still talking in the Lego bat. I really thought I stumbled upon it's a cool voice, and I get hit with 9 Lego Batman texts back to back.
come on, dude. You did that delivery fast because it's raining. It's not like you were out of the vehicle that long.
The rain is falling. All right, so Atlanta apparently in the mix for a quarterback. 0% shocking. 0% shocking. Wesley said Cam would be a good option for the Atlanta. He'd fight hard.
He didn't really fight, though. He just shoved.
Mainly because I'm pretty sure if he threw a punch at one of those teenagers that jumped him, he would vaporize them.
They weren't teenagers, though, were they?
Yeah, I think they were like older teens. They were like 17, from what I understand.
Older teens, like 27.
The oldest teens. Anyway, Atlanta in the mix for a quarterback. I still think they're going to end up with Justin Fields. I do. I think Chicago wants a new quarterback. I think Chicago has the same opinion of Justin Fields that I do, which is he good enough to win in the NFL? Yeah, I think he's good enough to win in the NFL. Is he a star? No, I don't think he's a star.
I don't know. There's this guy in Denver who's not getting along with someone who they might be wanting to get rid of who could come down there.
To be straight up and honest with you, Texter said, God help us if your mom's name is Martha. Lonzo and I had a whole fight about that after the show on Monday.
You're causing my ire right now.
Martha.
It's starting to build up.
Why did you say that name?
You're such
because
a
that's
hater.
my mom's name.
You're
That's
such a
your
hater.
mom's name too?
Such
We
a
have to
hater.
save the world together now. For Marthas everywhere.
Was that a bomb?
Brother.
Was that movie a bomb?
Brother.
Was that movie a bomb?
Movie sucked.
Yeah, well, was it a bomb? Did it make money?
Popularity doesn't make something good or bad.
Well, not talking about popularity. We're talking about money.
Yeah, popularity. Did people spend money on it?
Right.
Yeah, because it made money from me too. Because I thought, oh, good, Superman and Batman
there's
movie,
this
this is gonna
thing-
be great. And then I
there's
showed
this-
up, and the whole crux of the movie was their moms have the same
By the
name.
way, there's this thing when a movie does suck, where word of mouth, people don't go back to see it. Like, let's say Madam Web. There's that. So last I checked, Batman vs Superman made a profit.
Quick, if you liked Batman v Superman, text us.
What an attitude you're having over this movie.
You understand how good I wanted that movie to be, and you understand how not good it
I
was.
don't think you wanted it to be good. I don't.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
for
I don't
sure,
think so. I
Lonzo.
don't
You
think
know,
so.
you know my inner workings. You know I wanted a Batman and Superman movie together.
You don't like Superman,
to fail.
so of course you'd want it to fail because the Batman part was fine. It failed because of Superman.
Martha failed because your hook was their moms have the same name. Martha.
By the way, really quick, fact check. Do their moms have the same name?
Martha.
I'm curious. Do their moms have the same name?
In that movie, they did.
No. It's in comic books.
I don't care about the comic books. I care about that movie. And in that movie, the entire crux was the world saved because 2 ladies are named Martha.
Historically, source material is
Lonzo,
relevant, and in this case,
what happened in the movie? I'm not going to go watch.
As I pointed out, and even showed you the clip yesterday, he broke out a Darkseid's spell because of his mom's name.
Then your villain sucks. If the villain's spell can be broken by 2 ladies having the same name on a planet with 32 billion people on it, that's a real dumb bad guy.
There's some pretty dumb bad guys out there.
I don't disagree, but that's not the point.
Okay, well, fine. Do you even remember what you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
The Atlanta Falcons in their desperate need for a quarterback, and the fact that it's being reported out of NBC Sports Chicago.
No
that
offense.
The Chicago Bears are currently working on a Justin Fields trade that could be in place next week, and I would not be shocked to find out that the Atlanta Falcons are on the other end of it.
I'm just going to say no offense, but the Batman versus Superman discussion more exciting than talking about the Falcons. Because they're still in the South, and whatever quarterback they get, even if it is Justin Fields, who I really love, they're still going to struggle to be above 500 because everyone's going to do that in the stinking NFC South.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
I don't think Atlanta is just a quarterback away. I do think they are closer to just a quarterback away than they are to disaster. I feel like I've said this a couple of times, and I'll say it one more time here because shut up, I want to. What Atlanta should do is Atlanta should move to 3 and get Jaden Daniels. Now, you take the gamble if you wait to do that, because I genuinely think, as a number of other professionals do, that Jaden Daniels is going to be off the board at number 2 to Washington.
You know what? And I genuinely think that there are no quarterbacks in the top 3 that will be successful in the NFL.
You don't think Jaden Daniels will be successful?
I do not.
What about Jaden Daniels makes you think he won't be successful?
A lot of things. If you want me to be specific,
Yes,
I would have to look it up. As far as stats and things like that. Here's this thing in the business where you have a feeling, you can look at really good college quarterbacks come out and they fail. And then you can look at, how people play and go, you know what? I don't think they're going to do well. And I don't think he's going to do well. I don't think any of them do. I think Spencer Rattler has a better shot of doing well in the NFL.
Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he does. I think he's better fitted for the NFL game.
You are getting a whole ass people's eyebrow for that take. The whole thing. I can't even. I gotta.
You need a comment in there because I'm picturing. By the way, if you're watching on the stream, he did have to use his hand to make his eyebrow.
That's how shocking that take is.
Yeah, well,
listen.
If you and I are together next year, we'll see.
I mean, I don't plan on going.
I mean, if I'm wrong, listen, it's radio, dude. We could be gone tomorrow.
That's also true.
Yeah.
After that take, they might decide to make that happen.
Oh no, I've been doing that stuff for 20 something years. I'm
That's
good.
also true.
I'm good.
That's also true.
And by the way, I'm right sometimes. So it's not like, and I believe him would be right this time. I am not excited about this crop of quarterbacks coming into the NFL.
Look, I'll be straight up with you. I don't think Caleb Williams is a star. I think he's okay. I don't think Drake May's going to be a star. I think he's inconsistent, and I think that inconsistency is going to be exploited at the next level. Legit, I think Jaden Daniels is a star. I think he is today got the capability to be 80% of what Lamar Jackson is, just in terms of pure talent. I don't know about his ability to win the big win or anything, but he's a Heisman Trophy winner, and he's got all of the skill set of Lamar, just rough and raw, and needs to be developed. And I think it can and will be. I actually do think Spencer Rattler's going to shock some people at the next level. I think he's going to catch up some people, and I think Spencer Rattler is going to provide you and I both with some pretty solid I told you so material over the next couple of years. I don't think he's Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels is honestly a full leg up on every other quarterback in this draft. I told Cody Decker on Bet for the Cycle, the outstanding sports talk gambling show that airs every Saturday from noon to 4 on the BetQL network. I told him preseason, Jaden Daniels is going to win the Heisman Trophy. And he did. I told him I thought he was going to have a rushing passing year that was going to be reminiscent of peak Michael Vick. He did. I told him he was going to be responsible for the majority of LSU touchdowns. He was. This guy is on a different level. And I do think, unlike Caleb Williams, unlike Drake May, I think his talent translates more immediately to the National Football League than anybody else. And as much as I hate to say this, because I know for a dad-burned fact, it is going to be used against me in a court of dun-dun on this show down the line. Jaden Daniels played a much more significant quantity and quality of talent than any of the other guys did. In fact, the only guy who played a talent level that was close to what Jaden Daniels played out of the Southeastern Conference was Michael Penix Jr. My top 3 quarterbacks in this draft are, in order, number 1, Jaden Daniels, number 2, Michael Penix Jr., number 3, Spencer Rattler. In order. That's 1, 2, 3. I don't see Caleb Williams being a star. I don't see Drake May. You know what I think Drake May could be? I think Drake May can be Joe Flacco Volume 2. I think he'll always be in the mix. I think he'll always be around it. And I think we will be asking year after year after year after year about Drake May. Is he elite? And the answer will never, much like Joe Flacco, will never be yes. I think Drake May can do enough that question will be a valid question to be asked, that no one will ever really say no. But more importantly, no one will ever say yes. I think Jaden Daniels will be laid by. I think Jaden Daniels can have a similar, if not superior year to what CJ Stroud did this year. That's how good I think this guy is. I don't think Michael Penix Jr. can. I don't think Spencer Rattler can. That's why he's number 1. Jaden Daniels is 100% going to be hampered only if he ends up on a crappy team. I'll tell you this. I said this. I'll say it again. If Jaden Daniels ends up in Atlanta, as he should if you're smart, and listen to me, Falcons, I want you to suck forever. So when I tell you something like this, I mean it. If Jaden Daniels ends up in Atlanta Falcon, they will win the division next year.
Will any of those quarterbacks have a better rookie season than Bryce Young did?
Jaden Daniels will. Whoever goes to Chicago will. There's more talent to work with. Whoever goes to Washington legit might be a maybe. If Drake May goes to Washington, I genuinely think he might have a year on par with Bryce Young. And here's why. Dan Quinn is the head coach there. Dan Quinn. I need somebody that is a Washington Commanders fan to explain to me why in the blue hell they thought Dan Quinn is the guy to rescue us from this mediocrity hellscape. I need somebody to tell me, listen, I know Dan Quinn had some early success when he was with Atlanta. I know he had some early success there. But then, as the old saying goes, then what happened? Dan Quinn's going to build you a defense in Washington. I don't have any doubt. But see, the problem is, much like the Carolina Panthers right now, you need a guy who can look at a rook QB and go, here's how we make this offense good around this guy. Frank Reich was not that guy. Thomas Brown was not that guy. We have fingers crossed that Dave Canellis is this guy. This is why I like the Dave Canellis hire. Not necessarily because he has the acumen or the CV, the resume of anybody else, but because the most obvious thing on the resume of Dave Canellis is what? He's worked with 3 consecutive quarterbacks who have had 3 successful years. He worked with Russ Wilson. He got Russ Wilson involved in one of the fattest contracts ever in Denver. He worked with Geno Smith, and all of a sudden, Geno Smith is an NFL Comeback Player of the Year award winner who Seattle is having a crisis right now because on one hand, you kind of want to reward Geno Smith for what he did. On the other hand, we don't know if he's that guy or not. And then he goes down to Tampa Bay and he takes a Carolina Panther cast-off in Baker Mayfield. And Baker had a career year under Dave Canellis. And here's the thing. We all know the offense in Tampa belonged to Dave Canellis because it damn sure wasn't Todd Bowles' offense. So what Baker did last year in Tampa, direct result of 2 things. Number 1, Evans and Godwin. And number 2, Dave Canellis. So Dave Canellis' resume has 3 consecutive QBs who had 3 consecutive, I'm not going to say career in the case of Russell Wilson, but real close to it, seasons under Dave Canellis. I like the hiring. Is Dan Quinn going to do that for Drake May? Is he going to do that for Drake May? I'm not going to bank on that. Now, Washington did do one very smart thing. Great one. Their offensive coordinator is Cliff Kingsbury. Now.
Wait. What happened to Bieniemy?
Bieniemy is now the offensive coordinator at UCLA. And he made abundantly sure when he took that job to emphasize in the media, I was not fired. I chose to leave. I was not let go. I chose to leave. Respectfully, I don't believe you. I mean, I believe that you weren't fired, but I suspect Dan Quinn was like, yo, dog, you got to find somewhere to go. I don't want to fire you publicly. You don't want to be fired publicly. Go find somewhere to go. And basically every other job was filled up at that point, so he had to go back to college. I can't imagine he left the NFL to go coach at UCLA for no reason. If Cliff Kingsbury's there, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Commanders make a play to get Caleb Williams. He's more the style of a Cliff Kingsbury than a Drake May. That's the best thing the Commanders did. Not Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury. We got to run to a break. We'll come back. We wrap up the Rob Brown Show on the flip side. Rob Lonzo and you. It is the Fan Upstate. James, step 1 is admitting publicly that you are a hater, buddy. I'm proud of you for taking the first step.
I don't have to admit it. It's in my title.
Executive producer / hater.
It's executive hater and producer. And still, the only one parked next to the building during a rainstorm.
All right. Stepping away for 1 minute, guys. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, dudes and dudettes, thanks for hanging in there. You guys are the bestest. Coward hyping Caleb and USC as a future national champs last year, and watching it all fall apart was quite satisfying. Completely concurred. I am a big, big hater on people who crown people before they've earned the crown. I love watching people declare national champs and getting dunked on. There's a difference between, I think Georgia wins the Natty versus USC will. I love watching those people get dunked on. The problem is in this industry, you got to have those hot takes if you want to make it.
Well, the one part I hate is how they never go back. Usually won't go back and address it.
Yep.
Yeah. Say, hey, you know what? They got me. I believed in them.
Yep.
And I was wrong. I'm just like you. I make mistakes sometimes.
That's 800-505-7103.
Tax season is here already. But look at all this info I have to learn.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Bingo. I got blisters on it. That's a straight up Family Guy ripoff.
Is it?
Yeah. There's early Family Guy. There's
Just
an episode.
no one's ever said they got blisters on
No, but I've got blisters on my fingers. There was an early episode where
Maybe it's a Dire Straits quote.
there's
Maybe
an
get a
early episode
blister
of
on
Family
the
Guy.
little finger. Maybe get a
where-
blister on their thumb.
The Griffins move out to the country, and Peter buys a General Lee. And Stewie learns the banjo, and he plays a hot fire take with an old country band. And as soon as he's done, he screams, "I've got blisters on my fingers." And for years, we ran around screaming that quote. Family Guy's been on since I was like a high school senior, man.
I've watched episodes here and there, which are pretty funny. I still don't understand the chicken, but I'm okay with it.
That is understanding the chicken. Television's greatest rivalry. Peter versus the giant chicken.
Is that a ripoff of Animaniacs, though, and Chicken Boo? You wear a disguise, look like other guys, but you're not a man. You're Chicken Boo.
With Mark Ryan and Diesel, we will look at in-state recruiting. South Carolina dominated last season. So what's Dabo's plan?
Wonder if Greg got his dog out. That's a little miserable looking day right there. Good luck not napping today, mister.
Does, yeah. Yeah. I got to tell you, I didn't nap, and I was out at 9:30 last night. That is 2 consecutive nights I've been out between 9 and 9:30.
Wow.
Oh, no, it sucks. I hate it. Big siesta guy. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Alonzo with you on a not so lovely Tuesday AM.
We need rain though, because you don't want to be in a drought, and rain helps to replenish the earth, get it ready for the springing, for the grass to get greener and the leaves to come out, and Rob to be able to go play golf, unless you like playing on greens that are not green.
I might go play Sunday. It's about that time. About that time. I last year, I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was towards the end of the year. I'm having progressively more, I'm an old now. I'm one of the olds now. Last year, unironically, not for a gag, not for a lulz, I was at the house. Lady friend was there. It was raining. I stood by the back door. Dog seated next to me, looking out the window longingly for better days. And I said, we needed this about the rain. I just said we needed this. That is the second old manist thing that one can say. The only thing that's more old man to say than that is get off my lawn.
See, I don't, I mean, for you, I don't think that would be considered an old thing because, you know,
sure.
environment and you want to take care of all of it. So the rain, replenishing Gaia or whatever. I mean, that's what you pagans do, right?
Texture said, Rob, look on the bright side. Rain grows corn, corn makes whiskey, whiskey makes my girl feel a little frisky. That's a song. That's a country music song.
Yeah, I kind of guessed it. If it wasn't, it should be.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And also, yup. So we've got, you know what? I'm going to ask it now. March 30th is the kickoff of the United Football League. The XFL/USFL combination. Kicks off on March 30th. Training camp begins in about a week. This is real interesting. All of the teams will be based out of Arlington, Texas. Both teams will travel to the stadium of the home game that week. So like when the St. Louis Battlehawks have a homer, they will travel along with the away team to St. Louis to play their game. So on one hand, you do have home fans, home stadium, home field advantage and all that. On the other hand, kind of negated because you got to travel just like the other team does. One of the things that makes this very difficult for spring football to take off is you just don't have the resources that you need to have what we would consider like a proper league, right? That is to say,
even with them combined, I mean, it's got to
don't.
be some pretty good backing. Dwayne's still a part of it. Dwayne's got money.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Rudy Poo candy ass.
You added that last part. I don't recall that. Yeah.
The thing here is if the UFL keeps all their teams in one city, they've only got to pay for, theoretically, one building. They're going to have a couple of practice facilities, but everything can be run out of one building. That's why they're doing this. Now, Birmingham will play in Birmingham, Houston and Houston, Memphis and Memphis, Michigan and Michigan, etc. Golly, imagine the Michigan Panthers, man. Michigan Panthers got to go from Arlington to Michigan every other week.
Good for them.
10 straight weeks. 5, you got to go to Michigan. 5, you got to go to Birmingham, Memphis, Arlington, Houston, San Antonio, or St. Louis. Golly, imagine getting drafted to the team out of Michigan. The only team that really has an advantage in this, I guess, is like San Antonio, the Brahmas.
See, you're talking about going that way, but so some teams have to go to Michigan to play, right?
Yes.
Who in their right mind would go to Michigan on purpose?
The haters. They like to drink their haterade and eat their hater tots.
Never stops. I respect it. So, because of the resources that this league has, or maybe more appropriately, shall I say, doesn't have, it still has this feeling of an amateur league, right? Like it has the feeling of an amateur league. So with it having the feeling of an amateur league, my question mark here is, does that make you more or less inclined to watch it? Like if you look at it and it just fit, AJ McCarron is a starting quarterback and players are making $5,500 per game week. They are getting paid collectively in Texas, $55,000. Every player, by the way, quarterbacks making the same as defensive nose tackles. Does that make you less inclined to, now watch, give it a shot?
All right. First of all, the money is still, you would take it. So would I.
Damn right.
Yeah. I mean,
damn right.
I'm probably, to be completely honest, because obviously sometimes I'm not, or I wouldn't say to be completely honest, because that's when you say that, it makes it look like you were not telling the truth in the first place. Just wanted to say that. I will probably only watch it if you say we're really going to talk about it.
I guess that's almost in a roundabout way kind of what I'm doing here.
I mean, if it's an assignment,
let me
I will look for a highlight show. There's got to be one out there somewhere.
Let me rephrase it. I'm gonna watch it.
See, here's the main problem I do believe is guys have honey-do lists that they're able to put off all year because the NFL. And then the NFL is over, and then they are expected to come outside and do all those things that they put off. And I don't think you can make excuses anymore once you get to a certain point where there are things you need to get done. And if you're watching football all year round, you're not getting anything done.
The biggest perk of the job in this job for me is that I do get to tell my fiance, babe, I'm sorry, I can't go antiquing on Sunday. The blank athletes of blank sport are playing, running, racing, or doing this event.
Right,
and I have to watch it. It is my job.
I've been using this reason longer than you. And if I tell my wife, I got to watch the UFL, she's going to laugh at me.
When I started dating Courtney, one of the first conversations we had was, and I said, this, for most guys, is a red flag. For me, it's a green flag. I watch a lot of sports. Whatever you think a lot of sports is, triple that, and you're close to the amount of sports that I watch. Now, I'm always going to make time for you, but sometimes I'm going to throw an event on the calendar that is my job. The Daytona 500 is my job to watch that race because I believe, although this is not a universally held belief amongst sports talk radioers, I believe that you can't do this job without watching sports. You cannot talk about the NBA without watching the NBA. You cannot talk about NASCAR without watching NASCAR. You cannot talk about the NHL or the NFL or the MLB or anything else without watching the games. And you can tell, I think, when you listen to radio programs, you can tell the host that just talk about it versus the hosts that actually watch it and talk about it. So it's been like a nice perk of the job. And I fully understand the point that you are making in that I already have 4 weeks running through the playoffs of the NFL and the opening 2 weeks of college ball before the NFL fires up. There's like 24 weeks where my weekends are for football. That's just what they are. They are for football. And I'm going to watch the football. I have to watch the football. It is, again, my job. So I know it likely will be a bit frustrating if I get to the point where I tell the fiance, babe, I know the NFL and college football are not doing anything right now, but the UFL is on, and it's my job to watch. But at the same time, I'm curious. Now, one thing that got acknowledged, there's an interview that's up on ESPN that was put together by Kevin Seifert, an ESPN staff writer, where he spoke with Daryl Johnston, Moose, who is one of the multiple directors of the UFL. And they asked him, like, what is the profile of a typical UFL spring football player? Because over the years, it's always been sold as what? It's guys that are this close. They're this close and maybe a little bit more practice, developmental time, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe that's what pushes them over the edge and we get our next he hate me. Maybe that's what it takes. But Johnston said this, quote, I've expected the majority of our players would be like, I've got my chance to get back up there to the NFL. But you start to find out that there are a lot of guys who are at peace that their NFL window is closed, but they love the camaraderie of the locker room. They love the day-to-day grind. That's been the really inspiring thing to me is there is a number of guys in our league who just love the game and want to keep playing as long as they can. This is the first time that I can remember an executive from a spring football league effectively admitting and acknowledging that, yeah, a solid chunk of our guys, they're not borderline NFL guys. They're not guys that if they have a breakout season will find their way to the show. A lot of these guys are just guys who love the game, and this is their last opportunity to play it before they got to walk on forever, before they got to ride off into the old proverbial metaphorical sunset. The thing is, there's a part of me, though, that's like drawn to that. Right? Because if you're the dude that always loves to call the show and say, Rob, I prefer college to the NFL because of the heart and the passion and the guts that these guys show, then this league should be your priority. AJ McCarron's not making it back to the league. Ain't none of us think that if AJ McCarron has a really good season this year as the quarterback of the St. Louis Battlehawks or whatever, that he's going to get a tryout in the fall for an NFL team. None of us believe that. But the dude wants to and loves to play football. There's a part of me that really intrigues me about that, Zoe. But then there's this other part of me that goes, baseball's on. Actual competitive Major League Baseball being played by the world's best baseball players.
Also, actually your job.
Actually my job.
Yes.
I have a baseball show. It's a year-round show that talks all the sports, but when baseball season gets here, it's a baseball show. I have to watch that. NASCAR is on. There are 30 races where guys are fighting for their lives to make the playoffs, and then there are what? 12 playoff races? And that's it. Then it's all said and done. I have to watch that. There's only one race per week. What's more important, the XFL or college football spring practices?
UFL, XFL, however it is.
Whatever it is.
Exactly. Tag on it.
What's more important? St. Louis v. San Antonio in the UFL or Clemson spring practice? The honest answer for me and my job, Clemson spring practice is more important than a UFL regular season game. I want spring football to work. I want it to work genuinely as a feeder league for the NFL. I want it to work as a place where guys can go and get that last little bit of development that they can get. Because here's the thing. You can go to the league if you need development, but it needs to be like you need a little development to be NFL quality. There are some guys that maybe need a little bit more development, and then they would be there, but the NFL doesn't have the roster space or the time to develop those guys, that little bit of an extra bit they need to get there. The UFL does. So I want it to succeed, and I want it, but I also acknowledge as a host, when I know I'm watching guys who are making $55,000 a year and a good chunk of whom know they ain't playing because they want to go to the show. They're playing because once they're done, that's it. The football's over for them, and they just want one more ride. Man, like I want to be excited about it, but I'm having a real hard time getting there. What we are not having a hard time getting to is this break. We come back and wrap it up. The Rob Brown Show concludes next. It is the Fan Upstate. Exactly, James. I would be willing to bet Clemson spring game will bring in a higher attendance than any UFL game this season. However, ESPN, ABC, Fox are all playing UFL games. They're going to be on national television this year. Which I don't remember if the old XFL was on like multi-platform national television.
It was on at least two, I'm pretty sure. But it's like the old True TV thing or something, you know, some oddball channel. I just saw a thing on the X where Triple H was meeting with the people from CW. It's Levesque, by the way. The S is silent. And meeting with the people from CW because CW
it's a major sports network.
is Sports Now. That's where NXT is going, right? I believe.
Is it?
I believe NXT is going to CW.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
That came across as mean, how I corrected. I apologize. but I've heard them say it on several different things, and they didn't pronounce the S. So
I always assumed that's the way.
Yeah, me
it was
too.
pronounced,
Me
but
too.
I've always heard people say it with the S.
yeah, me too. But lately, since they started saying his name on actual programming, did they? Did they really? You know who owns the NWA, right?
I do, but
Despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage. You don't know that song?
the lady from the Cranberries.
Today is the greatest.
You know, I know that song. Couldn't tell you who sings it.
Singing Smashing Pumpkins.
I was never a big Smashing.
The lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins is the guy
Billy
who
Corgan.
Yeah.
He owns NWA.
Yeah, he's owned
Really?
it for years now.
That's incredible.
He does all the writing for it, or is over all the writing.
William Patrick Corgan Jr. is an American musician, singer, songwriter, and professional wrestling promoter. He has been the owner and promoter of the National Wrestling Alliance since 2017. Now I'm a Smashing Pumpkins guy.
Yep, there we go. Signed a deal with CW. Good for them. But TNA and NWA are more like watching the UFL right now to me.
Just as a heads up to you Atlanta Bravos fans that may or may not be in the audience, but definitely are in the audience today, the Atlanta Braves have themselves a little matchup. At 1:05 p.m., the Bravos square off against the Philadelphia Pirates. The Buccos are a go. Now, the lineup for Atlanta today features only one guy who will be in the regular defensive nine. It is Sean Murphy behind the dish. Sean Murphy, the catcher, is the only guy in the regular lineup that will be playing today. JP Martinez in center, David Fletcher at second, Jordan Luplow at the DH, Eli White in right, Phillip Evans at third, Luke Williams in left, Andrew Velasquez at short, Ryan Castillo at first. Why am I telling you that and pointing out that Sean Murphy, the catcher, is starting? Because spring training is a wonderful time for pitchers and catchers to get on the same page. And if Sean Murphy is catching, it means somebody important is pitching. And Atlanta fans, welcome to the first day that you should be thoroughly, genuinely excited about spring training. Why? Because Chris Sale is on the bump today for the Atlanta Braves. By the way, did I say Philly Pirates? It's obviously Pittsburgh. I am just dumb and reading too fast. Chris Sale, the former Red Sox. Did we land on he's just a sock? Have you heard one player?
Yeah. Sock.
Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't know if you pluralized him as Chris Sale, the former Red Sox, because it doesn't sound right.
It's Red Sox. It is.
Okay. So the former Red Sox, Chris Sale, who came down from Atlanta in the trade for Vaughn Grissom and needs to be a stud in this lineup, goes today. 1:05 first pitch. Yeah, I'm gonna be there.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
Physically, he's not going to be there. He's going to be watching it.
Right.
On,
And yes, Texter, I did say Philadelphia Pirates. Obviously, I know it's Pittsburgh. I have a national baseball show. I was in a hurry because we had to get to this.
Yeah.
And now you wasted the time I made up for by making me explain it to you.
It's okay. That's all right. The first thing that's Xing is Ole Anderson.
One of the four. I don't know if they're the greatest faction of all time. I would certainly argue they might be the most important faction of, let's say, the territorial days into the big national days. Ole Anderson passed away yesterday at
82.
82.
Yeah. It's one of those where I didn't realize he was still around type things.
Yeah, I mean,
because he got out of the spotlight and he had for a really long time.
You're still seeing Arn show up. Obviously, Rick won't ever die. I think he's a Highlander at this point. Ole Anderson kind of got out of the spotlight, but was every bit as important as those guys in the four. and what would really kind of push wrestling to go beyond the territorial days.
There can be only one. The next thing Xing is Pat McAfee.
Pat's really good on wrestling, dude. Like, he's really good at being Monday Night Raw color commenter. I did see that he had a spirited conversation with friend of the show and longest reigning intercontinental champion of all time, Gunther, before Raw started. And then I guess it got referenced a number of times during the match, but I haven't caught Raw because I haven't finished Elimination Chamber yet.
All right. So it was shown several times, including the picture. McAfee does not want to wrestle Gunther. I mean, there's another challenge that happened last night for Gunther, but a three-way maybe, and Cole really wants to see him chopped by Gunther. And you know what? I kind of do too. Just
all of us want to see anyone chopped
because of how he cowardly got out of the ring at the Royal Rumble. I mean,
hilariously.
Yeah, no, I know. Almost is like 8 foot tall, but I mean, I know you're wearing cowboy boots. All the more reason to go anyway. So yeah, that could be interesting with WrestleMania just around a month away. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Sean Payton.
Okay, there's 2 reasons that this is Xing right now. One of them is the reason. Number 1, Sean Payton, after Russell Wilson's interview yesterday, Broncos Country Last Ride, he said that he wants to win at least 2 more Super Bowls in the next 5 years before he retires, and he wants to, quote, feel the chill of that trophy one more time. I respect that. You wouldn't be a competitor if you didn't. Well, Sean Payton is giving a speech today, kind of unprompted and unceremoniously at noon our time. Yeah, I'm going to be checking in on that. But the other thing was, there's a little bit of a story coming out of Denver right now. You will remember that Sean Payton was constantly up in Russell Wilson's face towards the end of the season, up to the point where he benched Russell Wilson, where there is a radio host out of Denver that has said that there was a reason that Sean Payton was all over Russell Wilson's and not over anybody else's. And the reason why was because there was a contract clause in Russell Wilson's contract that said if he displayed conduct detrimental to the team, they could void his contract and he would be owed nothing. And there are some people that are saying they believe Sean Payton was trying to goad a reaction out of Russell Wilson, a yell, a push, a shove, a something that the team could then use to invalidate the contract. I don't know that I believe that. Wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, but just a little bit, you believe it. All right,
little bit.
One last thing. Shaq Barrett is...
I did see Shaq Barrett was trending, but I have not seen why yet.
He is being...
franchise tagged?
Released.
Released. Well, I wonder if there's any radio shows that are airing, I don't know, tomorrow between 6 to 10 a.m. that might talk about that and whether or not he may be a fit for some other teams in the area, just possibly theoretically. That's it for us, people. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for jumping in. My name is Rob Brown for Lonzo. Have a great rest of the day. Don't drink and drive. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Yeah! Thank you for going out of your way to not spoil it for me, Zach. I want you to know, and I mean this, I genuinely appreciate that, buddy.
What about I made sure I didn't spoil it either.
Yeah, but you do that every day. Zach could have been one of those jerks that just drops it.
He could have. The person who does, it is kind of a shock. So
now I have to go scream through Elimination Chamber.
I don't know that McAfee wants to wrestle again because of how good Logan Paul's doing. I mean, so he's gonna be compared to him every time, no matter what he does.
I bet he does.
I hope so. He's pretty good.
He is good. It's a different kind of good. All right, dudes and dudettes, you guys are the best. Thank you for being here every day. Tell your friends about us. We appreciate it. You're all amazing people. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Tuesday. And if you have the opportunity to, you have my full, total, entire support to take a nap. See you tomorrow.